I think now we should chant Hare Krishna.
Param Vijayate Sri Krishna Sankirtanam. Total world victory of Hare Krishna. My name is Sitapati Das.
And my name is Dana Devi.
And this is Vaishnava Voices Podcast. Today's episode is Farm or Die. And we have a great lineup today. Devotees from all over the world. Hare Krishnas heading to the hills, getting ready for the apocalypse. I'm going to bring them on. We've got a bunch of different people here from all over the place. I'm just going to bring them all in at once. And then we're going to introduce them. So let me just bring literally everyone into the stream here, and then I'll go through and introduce everyone. Welcome to everyone who's joining us in the studio. Welcome to everyone who's watching today, either live on Facebook or YouTube. If you're watching us live, or even if you're watching us in the future in the archives, feel free to tag a friend, spread the good news, get the word out there. Make people aware of this resource and what's happening. So I'm going to go around and introduce our esteemed guests for today. Let me just edit the name of His Holiness B.V. Paramati Maharaj to add in AU Australia, where Maharaj is joining us from. So I'll start with Maharaj as one of the members of the renounced order of life, a sannyasi, a brahmana, the natural spiritual masters of all of the four orders of society. Welcome, Maharaj. Thank you for joining us today. If you wanted to say anything, your mic is unmuted at the moment.
Thank you very much, Sitapati. Very nice to see you.
I'm not sure if it's just me.
I sound shaky, so
sound
I hope I
volume
can
is very
hear
low.
you clearly.
Okay, we might have to deal with that in a second. That's okay. Thank you, Maharaj, for coming. And also from Australia, same area, Ashraya Tatva Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Maybe you could just say something so we can check that your mic is working okay, Ashraya Prabhu.
Yeah, I'm not on the farm right now. We're just nearby, house sitting for 5 days. But usually I'd be there on the same location as Maharaj.
Okay, fantastic. If you're watching live on the stream, let us know how the sound is for you, because it's a little bit difficult to tell from here. Thanks for joining us, Ashraya Tatva Prabhu. Next, as we go round, Mother Revati Devidasi in the United States of America. Thank you for joining us. Hare Krishna, you're in near New Taliban, I believe.
Actually, I'm south in Florida. New Taliban.
Got it.
In Mississippi.
Mississippi, you're in the Alachua area.
Yes.
Fantastic. Thank you for joining us, Mother. And Gora Prabhu from United States of America. No, sorry, you're not in the US. You are in Canada. I apologize. That's like calling someone from New Zealand an Australian. So I totally feel that. Let me change your name, Prabhu. Edit name. I'm going to put CA for Canada. CA. Gora, the Transcendental Recruiter and Connector. Thank you for joining us, Prabhu. I'm going to mute the mics of everyone who's not speaking as we go through, just to keep the sound nice and clean. And then last but definitely not least, out of the panelists who are with us now, we're expecting another couple to come. It's Bhakti Ulysses from MX, stands for Mexico. Thank you for joining, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Dandavat Pranam. Thank you for inviting. Jai Prabhupada.
Thank you. Hare Krishna. It's another Paramati Maharaj from Australia. There's two of them. Okay. So this is interesting. There's another Gora Das as well. I'll take that Gora Das out. I'm not sure who that is. Someone impersonating him. It's an infiltrator. Controlled opposition. I don't mean to sound like a conspiracy theorist, but I am one. And I think that any intelligent person at this point in history who isn't thinking that there is some kind of, like, there's something going on, is just simply not thinking. You know, what I would like to do before we launch into sharing about the different projects that people are working on, and we're going to roll off the top with Paramati Maharaj's project in Australia. But before we do that, I would like to invite Mother Revati and Gora Prabhu to open us up with a couple of minutes just talking about the context of what's happening in the world and why going to the land and getting food security sorted is an important thing. Gora, I can see you starting to think about it there. I'm going to let you think about that a little bit more. Mother Revati, I know we talked about this last week. This is top of mind for you. Your head is right in that space. You know exactly what's going on, you know, with the bigger picture kind of thing. And before we go to you, I'd just like to ask you, Dana David, do you have anything that you wanted to say to begin with here as we start?
No, just let's hear from each devotee.
Okay, fantastic. So, Mother Revati, could you please lead us out with a bit of context about what's going on in the world and the importance of food security? So you're currently muted. I'm going to see if I can unmute your mic from here. Unmute mic. There you go. You're live.
I noticed a couple of years ago, when I first, the pandemic just started, and they weren't even telling the truth of when it started. But I found somebody on YouTube that was talking about certain countries were stopping to import things or export to other countries. And I went and I looked and found that he was telling the truth, that Vietnam wasn't putting out rice, that China was bringing so much stuff in but not exporting things. And I realized that our food, what we eat, except for some fresh things, but all of our grains and stuff is at least a year's harvest earlier. All this stuff is been around for a while. So when I started noticing that it became, to me, alarming, because we are so dependent. The temples, you know, not just the temples, but even the householders, everybody's going into the grocery store to buy. And I started noticing that they were taking out rows of shelves in the food section and putting less food on each shelf. But when I said something, people are like, oh, they just haven't stocked up yet. I'm like, no, there's something happening here. This is wrong. I've been buying stuff since I was a kid. I do the shopping for my mother, and I'm in my 60s now. So anyway, I just figured it's best to get prepared, because we've known all along Prabhupada predicted this. And I am in contact with both of my brothers who live up in New Hampshire, and I'm talking to them about it as well. And they're like, yes. One of my brothers was like, oh, it's just going to be for a couple of months. He doesn't talk that way anymore. Now he's like, he's putting up food. He's starting a garden. He's planting trees. He planted blueberry bushes the other day. You know, he's thinking long term now. But still, so many people are not seeing it. They don't believe it. It's not on the mainstream media, so they don't believe it. The infrastructure is being attacked. How does our food get here? We have mangoes in Gainesville. People don't usually grow them here, so they're being imported. How are they getting here? Well, they're stopping the ships at the ports. They're not allowing truckers to transport. And the trains, I checked yesterday, I believe the train derailments on this one website that I follow on Telegram was up to 154 train derailments. And they're saying, oh, no hazardous materials in this one or whatever, but those derailments are not only blocking the trains from going further, but the train cars are being destroyed. So how's the food going to get moved? You know, I listened to a podcast today about, again, the 15-minute cities and how they're going to force people into it. We have some places here in Florida that are already talking about doing it. So if you can't produce your own food, that's how you control a population. You know, food is the easiest way to control people. Food and water. You know, and you know, me, I'm like, we've got to get serious about this. Prabhupada told us this how many years ago? You know, and we are way behind, but we can start now. It's better now than never.
Yeah, the best time to start was 50 years ago when Prabhupada told us to start, and then the second best time is right now. Yeah, thank you for that introduction overview, Mother Revati.
Krishna.
Okay, Gora Prabhu, let's see if we can get you sound from you. Let's see here what your sound is like. You need to unmute yourself. Let me see if I can do it from here. You're unmuted. Go for it.
Can you hear me?
We can. If you speak loudly like this, like a big
Okay.
broadcast, battle commander, think General Patton,
All
and
right.
whatever you do, Prabhu, don't get me banned, please.
Yes, so I'll try to choose my words carefully or find other nouns that can replace those which the powers that be don't appreciate us using them, since they feel they have a monopoly on certain aspects of our language. Yes, as both of you have made reference, 46 years ago in 1977, when Srila Prabhupada was in Bhubaneswar, and he was speaking to Rameshwar Prabhu, he stated, "These cities will not last much longer because their economy is not based upon the local production of food." And then he said, as unemployment continues to increase, as we've seen over 50 million have lost their jobs in the last couple of years, he said, as unemployment continues to increase, people will be coming to our farms by the millions. And so when I've been meditating on that, I thought, wow, so what if I had a few thousand people at my doorstep tomorrow? Well, first of all, where's the farm? I live halfway between Toronto and Georgian Bay. And I know there's, a couple of devotees some miles away, have some small but sincere farming efforts. There's Sharanagati, 1,500 acres or 1,700 acres, whatever they are, about 43-hour drive from me. There's Vetiver Prabhu that's out in south of Montreal that is developing greenhouses, and Francis Prabhu has 18 acres and 3 cows, and a couple of horses. There's a few sincere, humble efforts, but it's beyond me. So food security, yes, because as we see the gangsters who reinvented themselves as philanthropists have offered to put medication in our food for us. So I prefer to choose my own medication. It's going all around me. Lord Krishna's Aham Ashaudam. Lord Krishna says, I am the healing herb. So I feel very confident with what Lord Krishna is providing, and highly suspicious of what they're planning. I mean, it's been years ago, it's been proven in independent studies in Germany and in France that GMO food will cause cancer and birth defects. So what is it that we're pretending not to know? Srila Prabhupada put the writing on the wall for us like almost 5 decades back. And as Srila Rupa Goswami states, when seeking association, we should seek it with those who are like-minded, who have affection for us, and who are on the path of spiritual advancement. So we can already see huge schism has been created in the last 3 years in people's choices in terms of whether they want to live purely according to that verse in Bhagavad Gita, or whether they want to cave in to the influence of the Asuras. So yeah, it's time for us to find out who our allies are. As Prabhupada said, we could even learn, from our neighbors, if they know how to farm better than us, whether it's the Amish or the Mennonites or whoever. We need to make alliances. I brought this concern up to a friend of mine. I said, so what's the plan? I had just been listening to a discussion some months back that don't depend on the internet. That may go down. Have alternative ways of keeping in touch with your people. So I thought, gee, what does that mean? I guess getting a walkie-talkie or... So I called up a friend of mine because I knew he had some land and he had some ideas about a community. And so I asked him, what's the plan? And he said, the plan wasn't relevant to me because at my age, my body will be 68 this year. He said, community is just for grahastas. He said, you should travel and be independent. And Maharaj already knows this because he's doing it. And basically, he was this well-wisher of mine, this friend of mine, was saying, you should just be concerned with going out there and spreading the word. You shouldn't be concerned about whether you have a little cabin or, you know, a place to grow some veggies or whatever. And I thought, okay, well, I guess I have to man up here. Although my inclination is to have a little cabin to keep my books and my musical instruments. So I'm just trying to figure this all out. I'm trying to figure out, where do I fit in? Or should I even be concerned about fitting in anywhere? So I think I've said more than enough. Thank you.
Thank you, Prabhu. Yeah, people are in all different phases of life. And, you know, there is a difference between being the enjoyer of something and being the person who establishes something. It is not for the renounced order of life to be the enjoyer of these kind of facilities. And yet we see Srila Prabhupada traveling around, creating so many opportunities for householders, for children, for the elderly, for the protection of the different classes and statuses of life. And on that note, first of all, I'd like to welcome and acknowledge James and Cecilia joining us from Nurturing Soul in New Zealand. Welcome. And it's great that you guys managed to get things sorted on. Let's just check if your mic is working. Do you want to just say something so we can hear, whether we can hear you?
Thank you, Siddhapati. The sound is very, very garbled for us, but we're catching most of the words.
Hello.
Okay, fantastic. Hare Krishna. So for
Hare
those
Krishna.
watching at home, live at the moment on the stream, let us know in the comments how the sound is for you. And now I'd like to cross over to Paramarti Maharaj, His Holiness B.V. Paramarti Maharaj in Australia, who has a couple of projects that are extremely interesting, farming, and I think out of everyone who's on here right now, he's the only one who is currently has a project to secede from his state and join a new state to the Federation of Australia, which is very exciting. So Maharaj, I'd like to give you the floor to share with us about what you're up to. And also maybe if you could introduce yourself a little bit. I can't really do justice to you, to let people know who you are. Thank you, Maharaj. And Maharaj is frozen. So that might not be possible at this time. Ashraya Tatva Prabhu, who's also there. Let me see if I can get... yeah, okay, so we'll cross to you now, Ashraya Tatva Prabhu. You are in the same area, in the Northern Rivers area. Perhaps you could also create for people who you are and who Maharaj is. I'm going to unmute you now. You are live.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Siddhapati Prabhu. Haribol, everybody. Yeah, so 2 years ago, I came north from Sydney just to go to a 3-day retreat. It was a kirtan retreat, sacred sounds. And while I was up here, everything became very sort of restricted down in Sydney. And clients and friends and different devotees who I talked to on the phone said, it sounds like you're doing well up there. You should stay put for a while. So my wife came as well, and we started doing house sits. We were doing house sitting in Sydney and just staying in different places, moving around, no fixed address. And one of the devotees who I'd spoken to at the retreat, Guru Shakti, spent time with him in Sydney. He asked me what I'd been doing lately, what I'd been listening to, and there was 2 interviews that I've been listening to on repeat. I listened to them 40, 50 times each already. One interview was Prahlad Nandaswamy. It was both from the Nam Rus podcast, the late morning program. And Prahlad Nandaswamy, while he was being interviewed, he happened to mention Sitapati Das. And I thought, I wonder if that's the same Sitapati that I know. So I looked it up, and sure enough, it was. And so those 2 interviews and the things that were spoken about there gave me a lot of. I had already been sort of quite suspicious about what was going on, but life goes on. I was just waiting to see how it all panned out. But those 2 interviews gave me a lot to digest. And so then Guru Shakti said, Sitapati has a couple of groups, signal groups. So I joined onto those and have been in communication since then. One of the groups is about sort of discussing these kind of things, what's going on in the modern world, and how but then I put the question forward that, well, what's the point in constantly saying, paying attention to what they are doing? To what they are doing. They are doing this and they are doing that. Look what they're doing now. Now they're doing this. What are we doing is more important. So there was other groups, groups for promoting kirtan, and groups for being physically and mentally ready for the rigors of a new sort of dynamic in the world. And the other thing that I got out of that connection with Guru Shakti was a phone number. There's a Swami in the area who has land out in the Northern Rivers. So I made contact with Maharaj, and over the first 6 months was just visiting occasionally, and then we decided to move out there and start growing food. This is all very new for me. I grew up in the city. The idea of growing food has always been appealing, but now I'm doing it. And we have online groups where we share, gardening, kata, share tips, and we do a lot of research on our own as well. People in the local area, and also cows. Maharaj has had that land for, I think, 3 or 4 years, and has been doing a lot of it by himself. As well as everything else that he's doing. So he's moving many things around at the same time. So we kind of operate as caretakers to the farm. We're also helping financially. I go out and drive Uber, as does my wife. And we have a few other avenues to make some money to help support the project out there. And there was a cow that we were milking for a while, but she's now dried up again. It's small steps, slow steps, and a humble effort, as I was saying before. Paramati Maharaj just sent me a message. He says that he's dropped out. I'll just read it.
And it looks like the powers that be do not want us to hear from Maharaj. You just dropped out there for a second when you were reading the message. Oh, you must have paged away to look at it on your phone.
Yeah.
So
one
thing that we can do is,
Maharaj is like a self-confessed Luddite. He can hardly work his phone. So if he has any issue out there, I don't think he'll spend much time trying to work through it. I could send him a message and encourage him to try again one more time.
That would be great.
Yeah, let's try it one more time. And while you're doing that, I have some things that I got from you, videos and pictures. Let me see if I can figure out how to display them on the screen here so viewers can get a sense. If I say present and I say share screen, Share screen. I'm going to share this screen over here. Yes, we can. Okay, let's have a look at some of these things that you've sent. Okay, so here, this is obviously some of the produce. Zucchinis? You're growing on the land.
Yeah, this is from early on. This is from when it was still warm. So we produced quite a lot of zucchinis early on. Other things that we planted, we weren't so successful. These are the prize. These pumpkins that we've just recently harvested. That was an 8-kilo pumpkin, that one in front, and there were two behind, a 6 and 6.5. Maharaj said he's going to try again.
Okay, I got some videos here. Let's see if we can play the videos and see how that works. This is a new experimental kind of thing for me, trying to share these videos and stuff, but let's try it out. See if this plays for people and if they can hear it. So these are the cows on the land there. You're in northern New South
cows.
Wales.
Maharaj back in 3 or 4 years ago when he first...
Oh, your sound has dropped out again.
5 of these cows Maharaj bought from a dairy farm, that they would have gone off to slaughter. There had been floods, and so the cows were not expensive, and so that was his motivation to go ahead. Before he had any sort of awareness of how to take care of cows or anything, he bought these 5 cows.
Beautiful.
Let me just try and.
Oh, Maharaj is back. Can you hear us, Maharaj? And can you speak?
I just tried echo cancellation. Can you hear me now?
Here.
Yes.
We can hear you. Yep. We can't hear Maharaj. I can see him.
Signal's dropped out.
Maybe, Maharaj, I'm going to see. Can you turn your camera off, Maharaj? Let's see if we can get just your audio.
Hello.
Hello, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Sonia, where's the router? Do you know where it is?
So it's this very tropical kind of looking place that you have here. Let's see if I can play a couple of movies at the same time. Here, get your ADHD on. Let's just make a montage here of all these things. And, wow, this is great. Here's a kirtan. Can you hear the kirtan? Is Rajavidya Prabhu. Here you go. Here's a preview of the golden age taking place on the earth right now.
Hello.
This is what's possible.
Hello.
There's Maharaj at the table playing harmonium.
Yeah, we regularly invite devotees over to stay on.
Hang on, I'm going to bring this kirtan down. Sorry, go ahead, Prabhu.
We regularly invite devotees out to stay, spend a night or two, and to contribute whatever their particular skill set is, or just to spend some time there, just to see what we're doing.
Bok choys.
The bok choys are now very much bigger than that, 3 times the size, and beyond that, there's broccoli and cauliflower, cabbage, kale.
Yeah,
we have this celery and coriander. We have lots of fruit trees, kumquat, guava. There's bananas, but we haven't been able to get any fruit from the banana trees yet. It may be a little cold for them. We're just trying different things, seeing what works, and then going with that, and then trying to refine the things that don't work and see if we can tweak it and make it work. I haven't given up on the bananas. There's chocos, choco vine just started fruiting. A couple of passion fruit. We just opened up a whole new field. We fenced it off. We want to put in a lot of potato and taro and stuff that we can sort of firm basis for eating if we need to depend upon the land completely.
It's amazing. One of the challenges that we're facing now is, for those who are living in these kind of environments, internet connectivity and getting the word out is an issue. And so with that proviso, James and Cecilia seem to have dropped off. They might have an internet connection. Maybe you could message them and see how they're going.
Mhm.
Paramarti Maharaj was unable to get a stable connection to share with us about in addition to the farm, there's also the Northern Rivers Free State project. But let's sort out a solid internet connection another time, and we'll get Maharaj back on for a dedicated episode about that. But thank you, Ashraya Tatva Prabhu, and also Paramarti Maharaj. So Paramarti Maharaj is not in the stream right now, but he is present in the stream, obviously, through the project that you are carrying out together. So I acknowledge you for your courage, determination, initiative, pioneering spirit, getting out there and making it happen. And I know, Ashraya Tatva Prabhu, when we were talking in the days leading up to this, that there was a sense of concern about, don't have really anything to show. We're not really doing anything. But, I'm sure that there are a lot of people who are looking at that and going, this is incredible.
Yeah, source of inspiration, yeah.
Yeah, it's fantastic. Thank you so much. Okay, we got James and Cecilia back. Welcome back. Hopefully you'll have a stable connection. We're going to cross from the South Pacific, Australia, over to the North American continent, to that specific part called Mexico. Dr. Ulysses in
Haribo.
Veracruz. Please take the stage.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhu. Voy a hablar en español.
¡Qué bien! Sí, por favor.
Haribo. Yes, so I would like to comment on some of the points being mentioned. So the first one was about how food is getting scarce. So for me, number one point is to find a place to live where there's more cows than humans. That is formula number one that's going to guarantee success. I've heard so many stories, and you have to be in the mood that, imagine that tomorrow you lose internet, you lose power, electricity, you lose all services. How many days can you survive? How many days? So if your answer is less than 5, yeah, you're in trouble. You have to be able to say, I can live as indefinitely, maybe not with luxury, but I can survive. And the easiest way to do that, to answer that positively, is living in a place where there's more cows than humans. And that's where we are right now. And there's many places in the world like that. So just finding that place that fits, for your location. Another comment I wanted to add is when the question was raised, what would you do if a lot of people would come to your farm? Suddenly, there's a rush of people. And so for that, we were talking about Varnashram, and I shared the screen and the Varna calculator, which is a tool I'm offering for devotees to use astrology to calculate their Varna. So if you were to suddenly receive an influx of people and you want them to work together, it would be really difficult if you don't know their nature. So in order to do that, there's the Varna calculator, which is a kick-starting point. So there's 4 Varnas, and then you enter your birth data and all that good stuff, location, and it tells you Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, the nature.
There we go. It's up on the screen now.
Yeah, there we go. And so You enter your birth date, your location, and then it tells you Kshatriya, Brahmana, like that. And so that is very, I find it very, very important for organizing people. So that's another thing that we do over here. When there's workers, even ordinary people that are not devotees, we organize them using this, and it works like a charm. So I think it's just a matter of getting familiar with the idea of social order. By the time there's chaos or there's a lot of people, a lot of people requiring shelter, then there can be organized. I think that's crucial. And I think those are the main points. Now I just want to add a little bit about another thing that I consider important for self-sufficiency in general, which is the Vastu. It's another topic. So in order to be happy and satisfied in any project, it is important to make the building, the space, facilities suitable, compatible with nature. So this is an example of a Vastu house. Vastu is a Vedic science. And so you have to select a plot. It's a square, a 9x9 grid. And basically, this is a system of houses that is called Chatushala. Oops, the ads. So it means 4 houses. And so that was a 3D model. And this is how it looks today. I filmed this today. And so it's 4 houses, and each house has a separate function. The temple, the kitchen, bedroom, and like that. And so this is an example of a place where there's more cows than humans. It's very beautiful, tropical. We have mineral water. We have all kinds of fruit trees and so many beautiful views. Everywhere you look, it's just green always, all year round. Always there's water. There's always fresh mineral springs, and there's all the animals. And so this is what human life is meant to look like, not city and cement and all this stuff. It's nice to live in a place where there's more cows than humans, and then on top of that, you make a living space that is according to Krishna's plan, Vastu, and then you have a really, really peaceful life. There's an outdoor kitchen that we have there. There's a shower. The bathroom goes outside of the house. And so that is simple living, high thinking. Yeah. Very. I don't know if I have more time. I'd like to share one more video.
Sure thing, Prabhu. Go for it.
Okay. It's one small video I wanted to show about growing the food. So we were talking about, we need to grow our own food, and we've done it or tried at least, and it's a little bit of a barrier, like you were saying. We live in the city and we're not used to growing food. So this is a method that's really, really simple. It works anywhere, universal, and you can grow a lot of food very easily. So what I'm trying to do right now is present a very simple concept of grow your food, but just for you. Basically, for one human, you focus on growing your own food, not for 20 people or a whole family or whatever. You start small by your own food. And so this is one example how to do it. Very, very simple, universal principle. So this is a tree that drops a lot of leaves. You simply collect all of those leaves and you put them in a box. A hole in the ground or any compost pile, whatever, in a container. We just put bricks. And then from there, once it settles for a month or 2, you grow your plant. In this case, it's a chayote plant. I don't know if you're familiar with that. This chayote plant produces so much food. Literally, there's 2 or 3 of these chayote plants every 2 days, every 3 days. This is one tiny one starting, another one. And it's just a trellis. Basically, you can do trellis with string, with sticks, with This is metal. This is metal rings. And literally, it's just ridiculously successful because plants need good soil. And good soil means organic matter. So it could be 100% cow dung, or in this case, 100% leaves, 100% organic matter will do wonders. And if you just do that, you can pretty much start to grow the things that you eat every day. You stop buying from the store. You stop buying from the store. This is very simple system. So I recommend everyone to try it. Thank you, Prabhu. Any comments?
Fantastic. Thank you, Prabhu. Yeah, we had Tejas Prabhu on last week, Prabhupada disciple, and he was saying that different plants will pull different essential elements from deep down into the soil or return them to them. Like there are plants you can plant that will pull the nitrogen up out of the depth, and then you can mulch them and lay them back down. And that carbon producing.
Yes.
Nitrogen. Yeah.
Yes. Remember I mentioned the vetiver?
Vetiver?
Yes, I put a comment on the YouTube or somewhere. Let me show you.
You put this big.
Where is it?
Yeah. You know, Prabhu Ulysses, the way you show the system that you show to find or put people according to their varnas is very practical thing. So any devotee that is looking to bring more people into your ashram, make sure you have this because it's the most practical thing. You know who you work in, you know what are the natures, and you connect them according to their natures. And the Vastu, sometimes we in the Western world, people just buy things, houses and land, and things doesn't go well. There's so much trouble for many things. It's because the Vastu is not aligned. So another practical thing to do is get the Vastu of your property, do some corrections appropriately. What do you need? Do you need wealth? Do you need harmony? Do you need anything? The earth is producing that, and it has to connect with your own, let's call it your chakra or your nature as well. And what to speak, Krishna is in the center, is way more powerful. So yeah, thank you for sharing that practical links or knowledge, Prabhu.
You're welcome. Thank you. So just want to add a little bit about that vetiver grass. I think that's another universal principle that all devotees should try out. We use it here extensively. If you go back to the shared screen, Sitapati Prabhu. Yeah, there we go. So I'm not sure if it's clear enough, but you see a row of grass next to the fruit trees. All these are Vanavana trees, soursop. And this grass is just incredible because it produces a lot of organic matter, like you can see here. And it doesn't basically produce seeds. So this is actually offerable to the deity. The root of this grass is called Ushira, which is pure, mentioned in Srimad Bhagavatam as pure, offerable to the deity. The root is aromatic. And on top of that, it's just amazing because you put them wherever you want, it won't reproduce, and it makes a barrier. A barrier for if you have slopes, land that's washing and like that, you can control the soil very nicely. And on top of that, every 3 months, you see that height in the picture. You can cut it, and 3 months you have another amount like that in 3 months, and it's just a ridiculous amount of organic matter, which is exactly what we're talking about, collecting leaves, or in this case, vetiver grass. So very, very highly recommended for everyone to get this if your weather allows.
Go for it.
Will be great, Prabhu, to not sure if you can share with Sitapati Prabhu the details of this grass. Not sure if it will be we have it here in New Zealand or in Australia, but good to know the name. And if any devotees are able to buy it and grow it, would be awesome.
Yeah,
it
I
is
would like to
available.
know more.
It is available
Yeah,
worldwide. It's a very used for slope preservation and like that.
awesome.
This is
We need
Vetiver.
we need that, Prabhu. Share the name because that's what I need.
Vetiver.
And
I don't know
the
what
chat,
it is. Yeah,
very,
that would be
Yeah.
awesome. So share in the chat.
Vetiver, it's like, this is the only place I know Vetiver from. You go down to the supermarket and they
perfume.
have these scented candles. Yeah, and it says like
Perfume, yeah.
vanilla, sandalwood, and Vetiver.
Yes,
one of the candles
actually,
we buy.
the root, like I was saying, the root is aromatic. It's literally wonderful aroma. So it's offerable to be eaten completely pure. And so it's just all the species. This grass is just amazing. Definitely, I'll put there's a group on Facebook. It's called the Vetiver Network International. I'll put the link on the chat, and you can get some ideas and examples and all that. It's easy. You can get it anywhere in the world. It's just highly recommended. So think of organic matter. You need a lot of organic matter. This will do it. And then if you have organic matter or cow dung, you can grow anything.
Gora, I see that you have your hand up there. Okay, bringing you on now. Okay, no, you need to unmute yourself because you. We're just waiting for you to hit the mute button. So I'm gonna mute Ashray Tatva Prabhu.
Thank you.
And
Yeah.
Revati for the background. Yeah, go for it.
Yeah,
Loud and clear, Prabhu.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Yeah, this is the first I've ever heard that vetiver is useful for compost, so that's great to learn that. I have vetiver essential oil here, and it's very good for Vata people who have a lot of space and a lot of ether in their minds and consciousness, creative people who are not so grounded, ADHD. Vetiver is an anti-Vata Ayurvedic medicine. So, as Dr. Ulysses Prabhu was saying, it's aromatic, and that aroma that it gives is very calming to the nervous system. I was just going to ask Ulysses Prabhu, you're just putting leaves and vetiver. Is that what's primarily making up your compost? That's it?
Yes. In that example, yeah, literally.
Because leaves are there's a lot of tannin in leaves. Does that mean it's acidic? Because don't you want a certain a higher amount of alkalinity to make good soil? I don't know the science of soil. I want to learn it.
Yeah, literally, just try it like that. You put a bunch of every organic matter you have in your place, food scraps, leaves, everything. You put it in there, let it sit for a little bit, and then you put your plants. And the soil is so soft and it's always humid. Anything. I mean, this is ridiculous how much. Just that one plant that we showed, the chayote, we eat every single day. And there's so much, and it's just like now, since that works so well, now I'm doing another 10 with cucumber and cantaloupe and all these things. Just rinse and repeat, So very soon I should be able to publish a video with examples, and I'll be glad sharing that.
Thank you.
But it's like so simple. It's like there's a clicking point, Like we're used to paying for food, and like we need money for food and all this stuff. But once you start to like see how easy it is, if you try to dig a little, we've done all this stuff so many times. You dig a little bit in the ground and you put the seed, and then 6 months pass and nothing grows. And it's so pathetic, It's so pathetic. We've been trying this so many times in so different ways. The only way that works is we tried cow dung soil, which is 100% cow dung, and anything grows in that. But if you don't have cows, you're in trouble. You don't get to that benefit, So
Can I ask a few questions, Ulysses?
yeah,
Sorry to jump in like that.
no problem.
I'm just very interested. You mentioned that, you got a similar kind of thing going on for Ashraya Tatva, and let's be honest, 99.9% of humanity and probably 100% almost of our viewers, which is coming from a city slicker background, and learning this stuff from scratch. Can you give us a bit of insight into like what has your journey been like? How did you end up here? Because I ran into you on the Vedic, the Varnashram conversations, but I had encountered you previously. You were a musician, you had some videos on YouTube, and I just thought of you as like an inner city preacher, practitioner of Krishna consciousness. And then I run into you again, and you've become like a full-blown Varnashram Dharmi Vedic farmer, establishing the golden age out here. So yeah, can you give us some insight into that journey? Please share with us.
So yes, so one critical thing for me, and it was absolutely critical, was this Varna calculator, because I always thought, oh, I'm Brahmana, I'm so advanced. But that was very, very unreal, actually. It was a false standard that I was trying to get. I was, for my first, 10 years as devotee, or 7 or something like that, I was trying to be Brahmana. And it was always up and down, kind of not very steady, and didn't feel fully satisfied. Then I did the Varna calculator, and that was a turning point. Immediately, as soon as I realized, oh, I have a Varna, it's not only Arjuna and Krishna and Bhagavad Gita and these great personalities. Everybody, every one of us, we have a Varna, we have a mentality. And so as soon as I realized, and I said Vaishya, and I said, oh, Vaishya, okay, I'm supposed to be Vaishya. That means I should be happy with cows, and I should be happy with business and growing food and all these things. And then I tried it, and that was it. We started the farm here. It was just night and day, immediately. Let me see if I can find the picture. Here it is. Can you share the screen? Let me see. Yeah, there. That's my first time we got our first cow, our bull. This is our baby bull, 1 year old. And I was putting the cow dung on the wall. I was so happy that day. I'm full of cow dung. And this is the proof that once you do what your nature, what your nature is, you feel satisfied, you feel happy. So it was like automatic. And if I was Kshatriya or another Varna, I'd be bored, or I wouldn't like it, or different things, And so now I feel it's pretty much the same thing for everyone, just finding their nature, their Varna, and acting in that fashion. And so that's how it started. And so it shifted from very much a lot of book and mental to farm and self-sufficiency and like that. And so now the goal is how to inspire other devotees. Just grow your cucumber, just grow your little thing. Start getting into the groove of growing, because it's hard for most people to get out of the city. So, all right, try to move to where there's lots of cows. Try to grow your own food. And like that. So I don't know if that answers your question more or less.
Yeah, that's incredible. It's amazing. Wow. People are like, oh, we don't live in a Varnashram civilization or society. People will say that. And I'm like, maybe you don't. But, like, what makes the Varnashram civilization is the Aryans and their speaking. And that's what Arjuna is worried about on the battlefield. He's like, if we kill all of these Aryans on this battlefield, the people who speak into existence the Aryan civilization, as I am doing now, which is really like, what are the set of concerns that I have as a human being and priorities, and what culture do I create from my speaking about that? If we eliminate all of those people, the Varnashram, the Vedic civilization, the Aryan civilization goes out of existence, because it literally lives in the speaking of the Aryans.
Mhm.
And so, one who says that they do not live in the Vedic Varnashram civilization does not. And one who says that they do, well, that's the beginning of it right there. It doesn't exist apart from the speaking of the Aryans. So, and this is just a concrete demonstration of it, how you've created that. Go for it.
As you were speaking about yourself, Prabhu, you were trying to fit in the world of being a Brahmana and thinking my world is only about Arjuna and Krishna. And there is this kind of like a tunnel vision. This is the only thing that exists for me. I'm a Brahmana because I like to read and I want to speak about Krishna. But inside you, there was something that wasn't ticking, that wasn't giving you that energy that make you feel fulfilled and satisfied. And here we have in this world, not only in the devotee community, but in the world itself, people are in that. They don't know who they are. They don't know what makes them tick. And so they try to fit in areas that actually they are not meant to be. And therefore, later on in life comes this confusion, there's anxiety, depression, they call it the midlife crisis, and so and so. So thank you for bringing up this. To whoever is listening, not only the devotees here, do your Varna calculation or check and act according to your nature. Connect to the people that are in the same nature, because this is the area where you're going to grow. Thank you.
Great. And I have a very practical kind of question. It might be a bit silly. We've lost Paramarti Maharaj from the stream and also James and Cecilia due to a lack of internet connection. Why is your internet connection so good?
Oh, because of Starlink.
Okay, Jai Elon Musk and his lizard overlords.
It's one of those things, It's one of those things. It happens to work, so it's fine.
Yeah, fantastic. Okay, Starlink. Yeah, Starlink is actually available here in New Zealand. So, like the thing about this is like this is not just about going back to the Stone Age. This is about doing, using everything that's available to us. So for these other projects like Ashraya Tatva Prabhu and Nurturing Soul, maybe getting Starlink is a thing in the short term, while it's available, in order to get the word out about it. At this point here, before we switch back to the South Pacific, thank you so much, Bhakti Ulysses, before I go on from here. Thank you for that presentation, for sharing your knowledge and experience. And I acknowledge the bold step that you've taken. And it's a real demonstration of what Srila Prabhupada said, which is that we are here to establish Varnashram Dharma for the not because we are the enjoyers of it, but for the benefit of the fallen conditioned souls on the earth at this time. Thank you for your leadership. So, before we go back to South Pacific, I've got some videos and photos from Nurturing Soul, and I lived there, and Prahlad, our son, lived there for a year. I'd like to just take any reflections or thoughts from Gaura Prabhu, Mother Revati, Ashraya Tatva that you have on everything that we've covered so far. Is there anyone who would like to share? You just put your hand up, and then I can schedule you. Gaura's got his hand up, and Mother Revati. So we'll go Gaura and then Mother Revati. So Gaura, your mic is hot.
Okay, you can hear me?
Loud and clear.
Okay. Yeah. What I wanted to know from Bhakti Ulysses is what is the origin of this interesting Varna calculator, and does it only is the only question it asks your birth information, the time, the place, the minute, and boss? That's it, or is there more to it than that? Who created this? It's interesting.
Yeah, that is it. It's Prabhupada. There's a quote from Prabhupada which he directly, explicitly says we can use astrology to determine the Varna, and so I can quote that. And there's also the source. The exact source is from the scripture from the astrological, what's his name, Brihat Parashara Hora Shastra. I can give you the exact quote, but it's basically chapter 3 from that scripture. And it's very simple. It's the mind. The moon, the position of the moon at the moment of birth determines the mentality of the individual. So externally, we may appear like a Kshatriya, we may appear like a Brahmana physically, but what ultimately matters is how we make decisions, how our mind works. So the moon determines the mind. And that's also in Srimad Bhagavatam. I can give the quotes if you require. And that's it. It's just that. So now remember, the calculator, of course, is prone. There's chance to be a mistake. There could be an error in the birth date or in the whatever. So it's a starting point. You do your calculation and then you see, and then you experience that varna and then you confirm it.
Can you hear me still? Oh, good. Yeah, I'm curious to know how many folks have you tried out the Varna calculator with to confirm? Because you didn't say easy as pie, but you made a statement earlier by which you were expressing that it's not like magic. No, it's science. I understand. It's the science of Jyotish, but I mean, obviously it's working for you, but I'm wondering how many others have you seen?
Yeah. If you can share the screen, Sitapat Prabhu, I just put a picture. These are an example of the workers here. Before taking this picture, that was like a month ago, I asked them, if you want to appear like a saint, put your palms like this. They're non-devotees, and they all happily did it. And that's because they've been working here. And so I know their varnas, and I treat them according to their varnas, even though they're not devotees. So there's Sudra, and then there's Kshatriya, there's Vaishya. So if you simply treat the person according to their nature, even if they don't have a clue what their nature is, if you treat them in that manner, they immediately respond. They feel enlivened, they feel happy. It's like if someone is a Kshatriya, it's like a lion, and if you put a rope on a lion and you try to take him like your pet dog, he's going to be very unhappy. So if you treat him like a lion, he's going to be very happy. And if someone is a Sudra, you have to treat them like that. You cannot give them too much freedom, because they don't feel satisfied like that. They'd rather get precise instruction. So it's very different nature. And it just I've tried it hundreds of times. In fact, the Varna calculator website gets like 100 requests every day since I launched. It's just steady every single day. So somebody's using it, but I don't know who's actually implementing it. It's a little bit of a mystery to me.
Epic. We have a question from a viewer. Let me just, I'm going to get my question in first because I can. You mentioned about treating the Shudra, don't give him too much freedom. He's going to be uncomfortable. I'm inferring from that, he's like, I don't know what to do. He's going to be in anxiety. The Kshatriya, he's a lion. Don't try to put him on a leash, obviously. What about the Vaishya, your Vaishya guy to your right in the picture?
Yes. So for all of them, the Vaishya, Kshatriya, and Brahmana, they have to be a little bit more independent. So that they need freedom and space to do their own thing, So it's more like a task, and they have to get the goal done with their own intelligence, like that.
Oh man,
And the Sudra, you have to do this like this, as a little bit more control. But for me, for example, because I'm Vaishya, whenever a worker comes with a Kshatriya nature, I usually don't want to work with them, just temporary job. Because a Kshatriya should work under other Kshatriya or a Brahman. So I find that even though they're not, I could say, I'm devotee, I'm beyond. But actually, I find that even as a leader, if you're going to lead a Kshatriya and you're Vaishya, it doesn't work very well. It's better always top down.
Yeah, I can see that, and even at work, you can see the natures of people. You know, some people are so like expressive; they want a space, and the moment you start constricting them, it's just like an unhappy environment for the person, for yourself, and for everybody else. And I can see in the natures as well of people, they like to be told what to do.
Exactly.
And for someone that is Satri and they like a space, it's like, oh my gosh, do I have to think for you? It is kind of consuming, absolutely consuming, because you require a lot of patience and energy to tell them this is how you have to do. You have to teach them how to think and what to think. And, you know, they require like a baby, guidance all the time. But when it comes to people like, if you are Rakshasa and then you have a person of like a Sattva or Vaishya and they're like a space, because the mind, their nature is they're like a space for creativity, imagination, and act on it. And the moment you start constricting them, it is just like unhappy for everybody else. So it's good to know who we're working with, the natures of the people, and how to deal with them.
Exactly.
I've got. I'd like to bring in this question from the audience online, and then I have a follow-up question to that. So Mataji 108 is asking, does the calculator take in considerations of birth dates, and by which she means birth times, during daylight savings time?
Yes. So in the website, there's a checkbox that says, I don't know my birth time. And so if you try that, it gives you the whole day, every hour for that day. So then you get to see if there's a likelihood of a change in there. It's supposed to already consider DST. But I recommend to do that. I click on I don't know the time and then get for the whole day. And within the time that you're born, if it's all the same, then you're good. If you have two options, then you have to try it. It's a little bit of trial and error in the beginning. But for me, the biggest change was when I realized my own Varna, and that was like a game changer for me. And then the second stage was everyone around me, the workers, the wife, the whatever, whoever I work with, I must know the Varna. And so literally, I treat everyone according to their Varna, and it's just as smooth as butter. Yeah, it's so much. It's like night and day. Like it's just like it's so easy to work with people once you know their needs.
Yeah, I can totally get that. A couple of anecdotes about that. I got put on a performance plan at my work once. And I remember I was in a conversation with the VP of Human Resources, and I said, I hate being micromanaged. That's what's not working for me about this. And he's like, well, if you hated being micromanaged, you're going to really hate this because we're putting you on a performance plan. And it's like, you're going to be really micromanaged. But what really worked about it was it gave me these clear kind of goals that I could just crush. And so it activated like a whole kind of challenging, competitive, and conquering kind of spirit. The micromanaging, like, you know, once I did that, then they were like, okay, great, you know, you're off the leash, go do your thing. Also, to the point about here we go. Let's bring this in. It's Anutama Devidasi's comment. We're going to get to that. That's a great point. And if that's Anutama Devidasi from, what's the name of that place? New Nandagram, I think. We're talking to people who have exited the spell here, but we'll come to that for discussion. But okay, here's my other point, Prabhu. You don't know what your birth time is. You're not clear. DST, whatever you put in, I don't know my thing. It gives you the entire day, and you find out that it's all Kshatriya all day or whatever, right? So it's like there's no lack of clarity there, you know? Or you're born in the Tatashta between a Brahmana and Kshatriya half day or something, right? So you could be one or the other, and you're somewhere in between. Or here's the other one, because it does two things. It does Varna and it does Gana, right? It does like, you know, all Rakshasa all day, which is my day. Day of a solar eclipse, all Rakshasa all day, no doubt about it. Can you talk a little bit about the intersection between Gana and Varna and, you know, what is Gana, Rakshasa, Deva, and Manusha, please?
Okay. You're funny. You're funny. The Gana is mentioned by Prabhupada in one of the purports. he specifically talks about marriage, compatibility in marriage. So for marriage, you're supposed to find the same varna. But also for marriage, Gana are 3 types, which is Rakshasa, Manushya, and Deva. So ideally they also be compatible. And for example, Rakshasa and Deva is like in the Srimad Bhagavatam, they're always fighting, the demons and the demigods. So you don't want to mix those 2 for marriage, for example. So that applies for any sort of partnership or in general, any sort of joint endeavor. So it's just general traits that are like embedded in the individual. So Rakshasa means a little rough, have to deal with anger issues or with some sort of getting too angry or lust or some problem related to those qualities, and the Deva is opposite, is a little bit too much of a dreamer. He thinks that everyone is godly, and he gets cheated a lot because people abuse that. And Manushya is somewhere in the middle, So that's a very brief point.
Okay. So what I'm hearing you say, Prabhu, is that as a Rakshasa Gana, I should create a cult and get Devic members of the cult and then manipulate them for my own selfish, lusty and angry desires.
Kshatriya Rakshasa is probably the best combination for Varnashram because Rakshasa is very resilient. Rakshasa is like the skin is very thick, so you can tolerate all kinds of adversities and challenges and still keep going and don't give up. The other ones would give up faster, So Rakshasa, although it sounds a little strange, but actually is very, very good for starting things that are difficult, like Varnashram.
That's me. Cannot be killed by conventional weapons. And my career in ISKCON has been, like, hey, we need to open a temple here. Let's send Sitapati. Or, this place is falling to pieces and everybody's leaving. Send Sitapati in there. It's like they just throw me in the deep end, throw me off the cliff, and it's like, hey, let's see what happens.
And it's almost like you thrive in that environment, isn't it?
I love it. I live in the hour of chaos.
Yeah.
And they're like, don't put this guy into this temple. It's working. If you put him in there, he will turn this place into the chaos of the battlefield, because that's where I thrive. And if there's no war going on, I will start one. So I'm a guy who needs to be on the battlefield. So as this whole thing's been happening, like with the New Zealand Parliament protests, oh man, I was like in my element. I was like, I was put on this planet for this. Mataji 108 says this: Rakshasa is simply more expert at utilizing material energy. True or false? We'll get to that, yeah. True or false, Ulysses?
I think so, yeah, definitely.
Okay, great. Gori, I see that you had your hand up. Let's take your point, and then we'll go to Anutama Devidasi's point.
Thank you. I was wondering, do you have a link for the Varna calculator, please? Or is that you have to download that?
I keep putting it on the screen every time we talk about it, Prabhu, and it's in the comments.
It's in the chat.
I didn't see it.
If you have a look at the screen now, every time he's talking about it, it comes up on the screen there.
Thank you.
And I will send it to you.
Yeah, we're going back.
And I will share it with others.
Very good. Thank you. So let's take Anutama Devidasi's point now. All right, here we go. Not to offend anyone. I'm offended. No. I'm a Rakshasa. I don't really get offended. But when I do, this is what I say is needed to establish Varnashram Dharma, is Brahmanas need to pronounce curses on people. When I read the Bhagavatam, a Brahmana is a guy who curses someone who crosses the line. Okay, it's a digression. Isn't discussing the fine details of self-reliance a little like putting the cart before the horse? It seems like everyone is under a black magic spell, and discussing how to exit the spell is the horse. Yeah, but what about those of us who have been awake for the last 3 years? And it's like, okay, like Ashray Tatva Prabhu was saying at the beginning, it's like, okay, guys, 1.5 years of like intricately analyzing the New World Order's plans is like, what are we doing? Anyway, let me open it up for discussion. I was just offended by that question, so I had to speak out about it. Anyone have something to say to that?
I think concentrate on the farming.
You want to say something? No, we just, people want to participate and bring a point. Revati looks like she's moving to unmute. Let me unmute you. Were you unmuting yourself, Revati Mataji?
No, but I had a question. A question I was going to ask on another topic, but not on this one.
Okay. Is there
But I
anyone?
will say, the
before we-
Nutama, we have to start somewhere. Start where we are and go from there and fix the mistakes as we go along.
The other thing about this that I'd like to say is that, Ashray Tatva Prabhu said that, we created various groups because people are going to be waking up for a long time and some will never wake up. But it's like, what do you do with the people who have woken up? What are they going to do? So it's not an either or. And it's not like Vaishnava Voices is like an either or, It's also kind of like the question of like, do we just provide pure Krishna consciousness, like reading from the Bhagavatam, Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita class, just like Prabhupada did in the temple? Yes, we should do that. And we should also do all the other things as well. The holy festival at the Spanish Forks Temple, you don't replace one thing with the other. So we don't replace those activities which are, letting people know about, hey, did you see the Dark Horse podcast that says that the COVID jabs are a beta test, or in other words, an experiment? I don't mean to say, I don't want to sound like a conspiracy theorist, but is this really news to anyone? Or asking the kind of provocative questions like Gaura Prabhu does. But like, okay, so here we go. Discuss where to move to rather than how to compost. Don't miss this. This is a recruiting drive. Like, I brought these people here to tell you where to go. Like, if you're watching this and you're like, this sounds great, but I've got nowhere to go. I just brought people from New Zealand, Australia, and Mexico on here. If you're in either of those places, if you're in the US, get yourself over the border into Mexico before the US dissolves into a civil war. And we'll be bringing more people on as we go. So it's not, how did you miss that? Okay.
Okay, so the response to Anutama Devidasi. So the whole point, like my husband was saying, we're getting people from around the world, everyone that has a land, everyone that has a project, everyone that is interested or already developing the Varna Ashram system. We putting together all of these devotees, getting to the world out there for you to know. And then wherever you are, could be closer, or whoever you connect with, you can go and live and start the Varna Ashram system. So that is for you, for everybody else to connect. And therefore, we put in this platform with all of these devotees. And obviously, this is not going to be the first time, the second time, neither the third time. There's going to be more because many people will start coming into this project. And the whole plan we're doing here is connecting these devotees, create a system where they can be all connected. And devotees will be talking what's happening. So that net has to be tightly done.
Okay, so Anutama Davidasi says, I didn't hear an invitation. Thank you. For making me aware of that. I'm going to mash up 2 points here. You were talking about treating the different people differently, and there are some, like Jordan Peterson talks about the big five, and there's these spectrums that people are along, and this is one of them. And I've been delving into this because our son Prahlad is Vaishya Varna, according to the Varna calculator, which we did.
Go ahead. Got distracted.
Yeah, I did. The comments coming in. So let me just focus on this point. He's a Vaishya. He comes to me and he says, oh, I don't know how to do this thing. And I'm like, he's like, can you show me how to do it? And I'm like, just figure it out. Because that's how I did it. I just figured it out. Because I'm the guy you throw into another country and they're like, hey, we need you to go to South America. you can learn to speak Spanish, can't you? I'm like, are you kidding? Of course I can. Whatever, roll up there and then discover within weeks I have no idea what I'm doing, but then figure it out. He's different from that. He needs, and this is with the Shudras, they're happy for you to micromanage them, to tell them what to do. And then they're like, I just need a checklist and I can check the things off. That'll drive me crazy. I wouldn't need to hear an invitation for this. This is me, Rakshasa Kshatriya. I'm like, did you just tell me that there's a place that I can get to where there's a Vaishya running it? Dude, I can conquer that place. I could take that over. I could go there and like move in and like, I'd be like thinking in that way. But obviously people at different Varnas are going to require different things. And part of like my development in providing leadership is to become more sensitive to that and understand it. And as you were saying, Ulysses Prabhu, part of the Rakshasa nature is an insensitivity. It's both a strength and a weakness. I'm the guy that you can send in through the door first because I'm going to take the hits and keep going. And then the others can come in behind me. But then once we're all in the room, they're like, somebody get this guy out of here because he is like messing things up. So we're pioneering things out here. And I would like to say, Anutama Devidasi, thank you for your contribution and for making me aware of that, because that is an implicit, it was an unarticulated goal of this broadcast and the series of broadcasts that we're going to be doing. Nutama Devidasi says we should discuss the elements of the black magic spell and how to dismantle it. Definitely we should, and we will be in other episodes of the Vaishnava Voices podcast. And if you'd like to come on, please get in touch to do that.
We need more devotees to be in the podcast, and there are different topics we are going to discuss, not only about farm and die and what to do or not to do. So stay in touch. Let's see what are the topics you are interested. I need female devotees because I need also to discuss about the role of a female or a Vaishnavi and what we're doing now and how we're going to contribute in the Varna ashram development. We already know, but anyways, some females are like, I want to do this one, but I don't know where to start. So this is a point of starting things, or maybe you already started. So let's join forces.
Yes.
And let's make many female, Vaishnavis know about this.
Okay, thank you, Dana Devi. Like, comment, subscribe. Revati, Devidasi, over to you, Mother, and then we'll come back to the South Pacific.
Well, I just actually have a completely different topic. We talk about growing food. I'm actually wondering how people are planning on preserving and storing food, because there's natural things like rodents and mold and all that kind of stuff. So is it something that we want to do haphazardly or need to actually spend? I don't know who would do that kind of investigation. Would it be a Vaishya, I guess?
Yeah.
But because that's a big thing. I was talking to another devotee about it just recently, and she told me her understanding was that Prabhupada didn't want us offering canned food to the deities. And I asked her to investigate that because was she just talking about commercially canned food? Because I also dehydrate. It makes it's different in different climates. We can't have root cellars very easily in Florida. Water table's too high, it's too humid. Anyway, that was my thing, was that how do we preserve what we manage to grow?
Okay, great question. Very practical, very end of the chain, like I found a place, I bought a place, I started a place. I'll tell the story of Nurturing Soul after this, but I see Dana Devi has her hand up, and then Ulysses will go to you next. So Dana Devi, to you first.
Thank you for bringing that up, Mother Revati. Yes, there have to be another podcast where we can do maybe concentrate on 3 or 4 or 5, whatever. We can discuss that one. Ways of what to preserve when we have abundance and things. What can we do with that? And how we can offer to Krishna, and we can discuss all of that. It is very important because nowadays we have to be practical, and it's better to be practical than actually be lost in the world of fantasy. that everything and it's going to exist and nothing is going to go missing and so and so. We have to do that. Please stay in touch. It is a very important topic. And this one, most of the females, Anutama Devi as well, please join in the team. This is an important topic, not only for females. Some males like to cook and be, so let's connect to that world with these devotees. And the other thing you were talking about, abundance. So I think this could be more about the Vaishya nature, business-minded. And I like that business-minded too, where we can connect devotees and think, what can we do with what we have in abundance? Can we sell it online? Can we do a devotee business together with what you have in different parts of the world? So let's discover and let's tap into that world and come back to you.
Okay. Thank you, Jana Devi. Ulysses, over to you, Prabhu. Thanks for the question, Mother Revati. Great conversation.
Yes, so to round up from the comments and from Mother Revati, we have to go back to bare bones. So if I was starting from zero today, if I had no farm, no nothing, and I was just in the city, and I had to just get out and become self-sufficient, without money, what would I do? I would find a place where there's most cows, more cows than humans. Number one, more cows than humans. Two, where if there's devotees in that any farm where there's more cows than humans, I would immediately just move there, immediately. Because if you have cows, you have milk, and if you have milk, you don't need food preservation, you don't need any canning and nothing. You have milk, you can survive. Your food problem is solved. And also another very important thing that I would recommend if I was to start again from zero is tropical place. I show the footage of the house here. Food is year-round. You can grow food nonstop. There's always grass. There's always milk. Why bother with all that stuff? Just move to the place where it's heavenly planets. You go to the heavenly planets. There's more cows than humans. You're done. Problem solved. That's what I would do. That's what I would do.
Great points. Thank you, Prabhu. Yeah. Where we live, there's frost on the ground at the moment. It went below zero. It's in winter here. And we are where we are. But if you have your choice about where you go, then tropical sounds like the way to go. Yeah.
Be aware of the mosquitoes, though.
Yes. Okay, so we want to cross back to the South Pacific now. We have two projects down here. James and Cecilia have had to drop off because they couldn't get a solid connection. But I have things from them to show. So I can show you some stuff from Nurturing Soul. To introduce Nurturing Soul, so James and Cecilia, so how that happened was Cecilia was living in an inner city preaching center / ashram in the capital city of New Zealand, Wellington. And then she was like, I'm over this. And she went back home to her parents' place in the country, a couple hours north of Wellington, in the countryside. And she was going to a Catholic mass, and she met a single dairy farmer there at the Catholic mass. And they courted and got married. That's how Cecilia met James, and they got married, and James had a dairy farm. And by her association, James became like an ahimsa, changed it to a cow protection. So that changes the whole economics of the situation and everything. So they have 2 cows that they milk at the moment, and then they have something like 30 or 40 cows who are retired and gradually dying of old age, which is almost unheard of, in New Zealand. People have never seen cows of this age before. And he had to deal with a lot of people thinking he was crazy, among his peers and friends in the community and everything. He had married this devil woman, with her witchcraft religion, and now he was just gone crazy, But, over the years, it's been like a decade now. There's a lot of respect there. And Dana Devi and I actually have 4 cows, and 3 of them come from one of the neighbors of Nurturing Soul, who has become so inspired. He has these cows, and instead of sending them off to the freezing works or whatever, the calves born out of season, he's given them to us. So that's the kind of effect that can happen there. So there's a couple of things about that. Like Govinda Devi Dasi said, you know, and Mother Revati pointed to it, Prabhupada told us to do this so long ago and we haven't done it. And it's too late. We haven't done it. Look, those farms are all out there. They all exist. And there are people out there who are, you know, you could say placed there by the will of providence and just waiting to meet Narada Muni like Mrigari the hunter and have a change of heart through a conversation. And it can go from 1 minute to the next. 1 minute, Cecilia has no farm. The next minute, Cecilia and James have a dairy farm, you know, with 120 acres. So it can happen from one moment to the next. Krishna can give us the entire world within 18 days. But our problem is we wouldn't know what to do with it. So part of it is being prepared, because Krishna will give us what we can manage. Let me dial up some of the videos and pictures from Nurturing Soul so that you can get a sense of it. I lived there for 3 months, and that's where my famous, I shot 333 arrows, which is half of 666. On my way to shooting 10,000 arrows there. Share the screen. On my way to shooting 10,000. Why 10,000? Because 10,000 is how many it takes to become good at something. Why 333? Because that was the number of arrows that I had shot on that up to that day.
For all of the conspiracy theories, no, he's not part of the Illuminati. I wouldn't be married to a guy like that. Anyways.
Well, no, I mean, we're all part of the Illuminati. It's just understanding what part you play in it. How did we get onto this planet and part of the beast system? Lord Vishnu put us here. Here's the garden at Nurturing Soul. This is just outside the farmhouse, which maybe we'll see. It's going to be here, right there. There's the farmhouse. This is the garden there. There's some protection from birds over here. Amazing. So yeah, a lot of the produce that's cooked at Nurturing Soul, and we do a lot of programs there. We do a kirtan camp twice a year, which is a weekend-long kirtan activity. We have a men's retreat. We've done a number of other festivals there. Here's the composting. Yours was inside concrete, Ulysses. This one is inside corrugated iron, a box made out of corrugated iron. We got corrugated iron at home. I can make a box like that. All the compost goes in there. You know, the ones down where the greenhouse goes, I put corrugated iron in there to shore it up.
Mm.
Okay, here is the next video. This is milking the cow. Maybe this is Gopika.
Maybe. I think it's Gopika.
This is James here. You know, a lifetime. He started as a share milker. So, you know, he was like milking a herd of cows on someone else's farm. Here is the milking shed, which used to be like a mechanical milking shed. It's been decommissioned. It's now, when I was there, we were using it as a gymnasium, and it's also used as a native tree nursery for planting native trees. Feels like slime, apparently, milking the cow. Here we go. Another important aspect of cow protection is having an engagement for the bullocks. So here's a couple of bullocks yoked together, being trained. Dana Devi and I had our wedding at Nurturing Soul, and James came up with this idea at the last minute that we'll have the bullocks pull you into the ceremony on a cart. But they hadn't been yoked for so long, and then they wouldn't work together, and he was there on the day of trying to get them to work together. So we didn't go with that in the end. This is a catamaran, which is on the property, and you can see the cows here. Catamaran that they have there, that's plan B, the escape plan. Or, as he was saying, I mean, this is the big picture. It's like when it all collapses, we can trade with other islands in the Pacific Islands using this catamaran. Here we go. It's living in harmony with the cow,
They're just awesome.
with the cooperation of humans and cows together. This is an unusual thing also to see here, which is the passing of a cow. Naturally, most humans have never seen this. So when the cows become debilitated and they're getting ready to leave their body, they'll be moved into the barn. This is where we had our wedding. And devotees will just do kirtan or be with them chanting japa around the clock until they leave their body. Here's another part of the life cycle. So two extremes, one cow getting ready to leave its body, and then another cow.
Not long ago.
Yeah, baby cow born not long ago. Okay, here for your TikTok ADHD pleasure come all the videos at once. If you are going to be bored by any one of them, maybe watching 4 of them at the same time will do it for you. Here's Tulasi Devi and the temple room. Let's bring the kirtan back in. This is a preview of the future. This is what your future looks like. This is the golden age on earth, just as Srila Prabhupada described it. You know, it's difficult. It takes some work. There are trials and tribulations. There's desanimo, discouragement. There's the feelings of we're not getting it done fast enough or getting it done hard enough, whatever it might be, you know. People saying like, oh, they got the land, but it's the wrong one. I don't ever want to hear that again, unless you're like have a concrete plan for swapping it for something else. You have the land you have to work with. It's the one Krishna gave you. You figure out what to do with it. That temple room has had a lot of kirtan take place in there. That's where we hold the kirtan camp. So that is nurturing soul. I'm going to stop the screen sharing here. Come back in with this. And then Donna Davies just dealing with an urgent matter at work. She'll be back in a minute. So that's nurturing soul, which is 120 acres down the line from where we are. Anuttama Devidasi says, so sweet, really good project. Yeah. And, James and Cecilia are struggling with like, how do we manage people when we've had it's expanded and contracted with people coming and going and trying to create something. And the Varna calculator, I think, is going to go a long way towards helping there.
Yeah.
Okay, so the final any other comments from our live panelists about nurturing soul or about anything that's been discussed up to this point before we move to the final one? Gaura Prabhu, reliable as ever.
You may or may not think this is an appropriate time to discuss this, but I'm very interested to go into depth on how you organize your kirtan camp and the content of it, but maybe you'd like to say that for another time because it's a detail within a bigger topic.
Let's get some other kirtan musicians on and do an entire episode on it.
Great, excellent, thank you.
Yeah, kirtan camp, we'll do that. Anything more before we switch to the last one? Ashray Tatva Prabhu, I see your hand waving there frantically.
Yeah, I'm already unmiked, I realized.
Yeah.
There's this point was made before. Anuttama Devidasi was talking about what I talk about, all this solution kind of stuff and how to compost when we're still in the middle of the whole drama. But it occurred to me that there is part of the drama is, and part of the design of the drama is to keep people captivated, to keep people like that. The illusionist or the magician just keeps people observing the thing he wants them to observe, so that they're not noticing something that's more important, or they don't see actually how the trick's being performed. So much of our attention is taken up by just looking at what they are doing, and it's always they. There's never anything very specific. Sometimes people are very specific about this particular individual is doing this, this particular organization is doing this, but it's always what are they doing? What are they doing? And I think that is part of the psychodrama. Part of the spell is just preoccupation with what other people are doing, the evil that other people are doing, misleading that other people are doing, as opposed to what we ourselves are doing. So
it's a great point. Yeah, it's called prestidigitation. It's like the wand, and then the actual trick is taking place over here. But it's like, look at the wand, look at the thing. Hillary Clinton's emails in the server, and the Ukraine, and the energy company, and the HIMARS, and the we're going to Mars, and the AI, and the other thing, and the COVID, and the WEF, and the bad German guy wearing the black Darth Vader costume. He's the evil guy, and the other one is the good guy, and the good guy is doing this, and the bad guys. Yeah, the asuras are using it for prestidigitation to get you to focus on that while they do the actual thing over here. You know, protest this thing, the Pride Month, and the Target. What's happening at Target? Are you for it? Are you against it? You know, do you think it's like, I don't think anything about it at all. You know what I'm really interested in? Should I build my composting area next to the greenhouse out of bricks like Ulysses did? Or should I build them out of those old pieces of corrugated aluminium like James and Cecilia did, that we picked up from that barn that we took apart with Rob at the beginning of the year? You know, that's a whole, you know, it's like the Asuras are using the distraction in order to get over their material agenda. And they are servants of the material energy whose whole purpose is to distract you from Krishna, to keep you in the material world, focused on the magician's wand. You know, I wrote an article in 2006 called What's Really Going On. Dandavats.com would never print it now. They don't print my articles now because they're too revolutionary. Vaccinate Yourself with Bhakti was the last one I submitted to there that was denied. But my 2006 article, What's Really Going On, was talking about, it starts off by saying food and water are about to become scarce commodities controlled by governments hostile to devotional service. If it means that a person cannot eat if they become a devotee, it just places another barrier in their way. And unless we achieve self-sufficient farming communities, we will not be in a very good situation. That's how it starts. It goes all the way through all the things, the Federal Reserve, you know, the whole thing, all the way down to the end where it says, the only way to defeat evil is to advance in good. And then it ends with the last word to Srila Prabhupada, which is, it is my desire that in the future annals of history, this movement will be recorded as having saved humanity in its darkest hour. That hour is fast approaching. That was the end of the article.
Do you have a link to that article?
Yes, I can find that for you. I can post it into the chat. What's really going on? Sitapati Das. Dandavats.com. Dandavats.com. Let me see if I can pull it up for you now. While I'm doing that, Danadev, anything that you wanted to add?
Well, I guess just mention about the how even devotees, or to the point you were bringing it up before, you know, even devotees now, they're just so entertained by the puppet show. of different themes
It's a
around the
puppet
world.
show.
Yeah.
It's Punch and Judy.
Yeah, it's the puppet show, and people are just, oh my gosh, this is happening. Anxiety, and no, we have to follow them. No, we have to poison ourselves with this, and we have to accept that, and we have to accept that. So it is just entertainment, a complete distraction.
Entertainment. Klaus Schwab, come on.
No, not the best entertainment for sure. It is just a negative distraction for people. As we read in Srila Prabhupada's what Srila Prabhupada has predicted for this world, we know what's going to happen, and then we're just acting like we don't, and refusing, not accepting, or are in denial about it, and still being so attentive to the puppet show. And the other puppet show here is, although in our community we have Srila Prabhupada, all the predictions is happening, but we have another puppet show, what's happening now with all the swamis, painting themselves as a saints, but in the background they're just doing so hideous stuff. And there's another puppet show, and there are discussions about like, female guru, or
not female guru,
or not female guru, or a gay guru, a not gay guru, and whatever. And there's a gay now on top of what he already confused by the materialistic rakshasas. Now we have for another like so-called devotee community talking about things that are not so important. And when the practical things that needs to be done is basically left right to the back. It's more cover up. And where we at right now, it's like, I don't know where to start. The confusion starts there. I don't know who to trust now. I don't know who is a real Swami, a guru. I don't know if people are basically in their mind, stable mindset, because everyone is confused. So this is the place where we are bringing all of this community together to say what they are, how things are, connect with all the devotees, all the Varna ashram system to be strongly going ahead, and the farms, self-sufficiency. Just like what Srila Prabhupada instructed us, we must act on it now. There's no other way.
Mm-hmm. Ulysses has got a hand up there. Before we go to you, Ulysses, Mother Revati, we were talking about this the other day, and she said, most devotees aren't going to get this until they can't eat. And I was like, no, most devotees aren't going to get this until they're being eaten. And then they're still probably not going to get it. But hey, what up, Dasarath Sutadas and Rita Prabhu, who's coming on the show for a dedicated episode tomorrow about being a revolutionary according to time, place, and circumstance. But both have something to add to the conversation today. And Ulysses Prabhu had his hand up, but I just want to take, before we go to you, Ulysses Prabhu, a moment to acknowledge and welcome Dasarath Sutta Prabhu, a disciple of Srila Prabhupada, Riddhadas, another disciple of Srila Prabhupada. We are truly blessed to have 4 direct disciples of Srila Prabhupada. Let me change this view here. So we got everyone here on with us today. I'm going to change your name, Riddha Prabhu, just to indicate where you are dialing in from. Is that okay with you if I do that?
No, that's fine. Thank you. Can you hear me?
Okay. Yep, we can hear you loud and clear, Prabhu. So could we take some comments from Riddha Prabhu and then Dasarath Sutta Prabhu, and then we'll go to you, Bhakti Ulysses.
Right.
Do you have something you'd like to add, Riddha Prabhu?
I just jumped in, so I kind of got the end of the conversation. I'm in Mayapur. Please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. All glories to the assembled Vaishnavas. I'm honored to be amongst such exalted devotees. Thank you for inviting me to jump in, and thank you for inviting me tomorrow. I will definitely make an endeavor to contribute as much as I can. And I will be on my roof. We just got the beginning of monsoon rain here in Mayapur, but I think the morning time it won't be raining, hopefully. So because of the connection, I'm on a hotspot. I don't have broadband. I live in the jungle, as you can see out through the window there. So, yeah, I will respond to your questions. And I don't have any kind of hidden agenda or anything, but obviously, you can see in the background, I have a plaque with a testimony from Goro Prabhu, who so kindly helped review my book. So my latest book. So I can talk about that a little bit. That's about my life. And of course, with Tripurari and the airport Sankirtan party. I just received a message from Anutama, a very discouraging message that they have, after careful consideration, we have decided not to invite Tripurari to the celebrations or the event in Chicago celebrating 50 years of Kishore, of which he played a very important part in book distribution, and it's, what can I say? It's very, political at the end of the day, that decision. I mean, they didn't have to go that way. I thought that he's at the end of his life, just like I'm at the end of my life. I'm 74. Tripurari is also 74. He's already 74. I won't be 74 until a few more months in October. So we need to encourage our veterans, our God brothers and sisters that have dedicated their lives to Srila Prabhupada's mission wholeheartedly, and to exclude them, at such a crucial point in our history, it doesn't make sense. There's something adrift. The mission is drifted in the wrong direction somehow or another, and it's our duty to correct them. But somehow or another, they've got all kinds of, measures to counteract whatever you say. So it's almost like, are we in the right organization? Has the organization drifted to that point where we make offenses?
Tune in tomorrow to find out. I love it. It's a promo for tomorrow's episode, which is happening 1/2 of an hour before this time. So around this time tomorrow, we're going to go deep into this topic and explore it in depth. Prepare to be outraged. Prepare to be titillated with the conspiracy of what's happening, and to be to have that sense of like moral outrage. They're doing the wrong thing, which people love to have, right? And when we engage that in contact with Krishna and Krishna's devotees, it's the perfection of entertainment. You love it. Tune in tomorrow to hear Riddhadas expound on that for the whole time, and the glories of Tripurari Maharaj and Kishore Kishori from Mayapur. Thank you for tuning in today, Prabhu. And are you okay if we move on now to Dasarath Sutta Das?
You carry on.
Thank you, Prabhu. Hare Krishna. Look forward to speaking tomorrow. Dasarath Sutta Prabhu, over to you. You have we'd like to get your comments and reflections. You've been listening from the background the whole time.
Lurking. Is the mic working here?
Yes. It's working fine. Yes, we hear you loud and clear.
Thank you for these important discussions. It's excellent that the Vaishnavas get together and discuss intelligent adult topics for the furtherment of instituting Prabhupada's vision on earth. I would just like to comment, because there's a discussion of the word Varna. For 50 plus years, we've heard in Bhagavatam class the disdain for the Varna Sankara. Oh, Kali Yuga, everyone is Varna Sankara. Kalo Shudra Sambhava, everyone's a Shudra, everyone's Varna Sankara. Well, I'm kind of a revolutionary myself, like the way you're describing yourself, Sitapati. So guess what? I'm proud to be Varna Sankara. You know why? I'm wearing that badge really proudly, because for Srila Prabhupada's mission, I can be anything. Your Brahmin is needed, I'm a stand-in Brahmin. Kshatriya is needed, I'm a stand-in Kshatriya. 50 plus years of Prabhupada's mission, we've done it all. We've been treasurer, we've been toilet cleaner, Shudra, we've been business person, Vaishya, we've defended the temple and stayed up all night guarding against hoodlums. We've been Kshatriyas. We've done fire sacrifices. We've done puja on altar. We are everything. So to me, Varna Sankara is an asset. It's a preferred position. So that's just what I wanted to add to the discussion here. Like who's this Varna? Who's that Varna? Oh, this since Brahmin. No, we're all we're mutt, M-U-T-T. We're the dog that you cannot trace. What is this dog's breed? Right? Like the dog on the street. What is it? It's got the ears of a Labrador. It's got a tail like a pug. What the heck is this dog? So we're kind of like that. We're mixed up mutts, but I consider it an advantage. We are here, placed here at this time to join Prabhupada's mission. Lord Chaitanya brought us in. Prabhupada said specifically that Lord Chaitanya and his spiritual master brought us to help him. So that's my 2 cents, that I'm proud to be Varna Sankara, and I think it's an asset. Haribol.
Stunning and brave, Prabhu. Stunning and brave. I acknowledge you for coming out as Varna Sankara. You own that, and I love the way that you positioned the rainbow lights. It's Pride Month. This is our shout out to Pride Month here at Vaishnava Voices. Dasarath Sudadas is coming out of the closet as Varna Sankara.
It's not Pride lights. It's Christmas lights. I learned from my mother to keep the Christmas lights up all year.
Sorry, Prabhu, my husband is just throwing his joke here. So I will encourage to all the listeners and to the devotees and non-devotees that will be listening this podcast in the future. In order for us to have power, we have to recognize who we are. And once you recognize who you are and what are your qualities and defects, you're going to be a bit more free to be and free to act. You have more power rather than pretending to be and actually you're not happy at all. So yes, keep tuning in. We're going to discuss more things about nature, psychology, and Varna Samkara, astrology, relationships, powerful communication, relationship, or any relationship, not only the man to woman, also, mom to son or whatever, you name it. So here we go.
Yes. And I just want to check in, Dasarath Sudaprabhu, my Dandavats to you. And I just want to check in that you're not left with anything about my sense of humor and my joke there that I was making lightheartedly.
Huh? What? What?
I just want to check in, Prabhu, that I have not offended you, because there is nothing that can guarantee my destruction. I was saying earlier, I cannot be destroyed by conventional weapons. There is only one thing that I fear in all of the 3 worlds, and that is Vaishnava Aparad. So I just wanted to make sure that I have not offended you in any way with my joking comments. Oh, if you're saying anything, you're on mute, Prabhu.
May I say something, please?
Yeah, go for it, Prabhu.
Yeah, thank you. I noticed Maharaj has also just come back. I wanted to want to direct a question to Bhakti Ulysses Prabhu, and that is, I appreciated his description of growing our food and living a life more like in the heavenly planets. Because I'm up here in Canada, and 6 months of the year, 5.5 months, it's frozen ground, snow, and so naturally people would have to, work with greenhouses, and there's a way to do that, but certainly it's very practical to have all around year growing season. So I wanted to know from Ulysses Prabhu, how long have you been growing? And what's the downside of living in such a tropical climate? Do you have to deal with scorpions, snakes? Wanted to run that by Ulysses Prabhu.
Yep, that would be probably the main downside, the risk of snakes. But the upsides are everything. Like, for example, if you're in Canada, you want to have cows, you have to build this ridiculously thick walls for the barn in the winter, and then harvest grass, hay, and all that. It's just, you have to work, like, I would say triple or even more just to do the same thing. Here, you just don't have to do anything. There's grass always. There's water always. I don't need electricity. The water comes from gravity. Just from the mineral spring water, you put a hose and it comes down like gravity. So you could lose internet, power, electricity, all services. You still have water, we still have milk, still have cows. So, like, why would you bother, to live in a place that's so difficult? It's like, does it make any sense? You could say, well, I'm born here or whatever, but now we're a flight away, 2 hours away to another country that's cheaper,
Yeah.
better, everything, So
It's Prabhu, Gora Prabhu is an invitation to go to Mexico, in case you didn't pick up the hint.
yeah. Actually, nobody
Just
wants
making
to
it
come.
explicit.
Yes.
Just want to clarify it.
Yeah, actually, nobody wants to come. I post videos and stuff. And
No yet. No
Yeah,
yet, Prabhu.
I don't know. Don't say
Not
that,
yet.
Prabhu. Somebody wants to come.
No, but
Yeah.
up to this
Somebody wants
day,
to come.
there's no list of 100 people waiting to come. Zero. The list is zero.
No yet. No
No
yet.
problem.
Just wait.
How many
We are in
acres do you have? How many?
I can be like broadcasting from heaven. Nobody.
How many acres do you have?
We have acres is 20. Yeah.
Okay, we've got Paramati Maharaj back online. I just want to see, do we have audio from you, Paramati Maharaj? Can you hear us? Can we hear you?
I can hear you. Hare Krishna. Can you hear me?
Oh, fantastic. Yes. Maharaj, welcome back. Ashraya Tatva Prabhu presented about the farm. We looked at the videos and saw the photographs and everything there. He gave us his history of his involvement. What I would really like to hear from you, Prabhu, about is this is like even bigger picture. It's like some people are like, how do we compost? Other people are like, how do we get land? Other people are like, how do we get out from under the spell of the yakshas and the distraction? And then you at the same time are like, how do we get a secession away from our state and then enter the federation of the nation as a new Vaishnava-led state? So you're like way ahead of the game. A man ahead of his time, ladies and gentlemen. Maharaj, could you please, I'd invite you to please introduce yourself and create for people who you are so they have a sense of who you are, and tell us about this Northern Rivers Free State initiative that you've started, if you would.
Okay. Well, I'm a humble servant of the Vaishnavas. I was born in this country. This is Australia. And I was fortunate. I went to India very, very young in my life. So I started to see how the people are living in the village situation. And I was fortunate to see Srila Prabhupada and then join his movement. And went through the ISKCON for a number of years. And was influenced very much by Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj, Srila Prabhupada. And I'm a bit older now. That was over 40 years ago. But I did go to different places, and I went to South Africa, and I understood how the Voortrekkers, the people who were Afrikaans, were being oppressed by the British imperial system. They were the first people to settle the Cape of Good Hope in Africa, and then the British came and tried to expel them or supplant them. So they moved into the interior. They had a thing called the Great Trek, and they went up right into the interior of a place called Transvaal. And they had fairly amicable relations with the Zulu and the Shona people, but they had some fighting as well. But they settled a place called the Orange Free State. They made it a free state. They made it very clear to the English administration that they were independent. Of course, they lost their independence after the Boer War. But the idea of having a free state where people declare their allegiance not to some material corporate entity, and you may or may not realize that in Australia, it was settled under the British Crown, but the Queen of England reneged or renounced her authority on the sovereignty of the land in 1973, and the leftist government immediately took that opportunity to register the Commonwealth of Australia, which is the official title of the country, with the American Stocks and Exchange Commission. So Australia is actually run as a corporation. It's not a nation. It's not a sovereign nation. And the people are simply employees or contractees of a corporate structure. So this is what globalization means. The whole world's moving towards a corporate, super corporation situation. where individual rights have nothing, no point, and people are simply corporate entities, products, and have no real value. And this goes against the value, spiritual value. Each individual has spiritual value. We're all parts and parcels of Supreme Lord Krishna, and we can aspire to attain the topmost goal of life, which is ecstatic divine love of the Supreme Lord through the process of Nam Sankirtan. So we know the last year or two for everyone, due to this global pandemic they engineered, caused a great deal of disruption. The people were locked down, they lost their livelihoods, they lost so much of their freedom. Many were forced vaccinated. The statistic now in Australia in the last year, there's been 79,000 excess deaths over the average since people were taking this fantastic medical process of injections. And in the British UK, up to last March, the excess deaths rate over the average was 179,000. So, so many people are dying. There is a genocide, a democide going on. It's targeting the Western Anglo-Saxon countries for population replacement. And it's been going on for a long time. And I heard some research saying that by 2050, human beings won't even be able to normally reproduce themselves as they have done for thousands of years, because they'll have no potency, no testosterone levels. So the situation for humanity is very dire. And we just came across this idea to declare our independence one way or the other, legally, not unlawfully, because we don't want to provoke the status quo too much. But within the system, we have to try to get interest for people to live a godly life. And there's two principles that civilized life is based on, as Prabhupada told us, and that is cow protection and Brahma Vidya, Brahminical culture. So the Brahminical culture and the consciousness of the Varna ashram, with the head of the Varna ashram is Supreme Lord Sri Krishna, Bhagavan Vishnu. If that is established and there's a proper Raja Rishi following all religious principles, and the cows are protected and nourished, then there can be peace in the land. So although that seems a very unusual departure from the normal, demonic, normal way of things that we have in the Western countries, the time will come where people understand that. And I think now is a very important time. I'm seeing we've been waiting for this time for many years, devotees, I think, because now I can see that even so-called normal people who have an investment in the status quo are asking questions, have been affected. There's many people have had deaths in the family. They've seen through, due to this medical intervention, they're starting to understand the nefarious nature behind it. And people are ripening to some sort of alternative explanation. And of course, devotees are, as servants of the Vaishnavas, personalities like Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj, Srila Prabhupada, and my own Guru Maharaj, Srila Bhaktivedanta Narayana Swami Maharaj, under the guidance of Mahabhagavat Parama Vaishnavas, personally and in their recorded words and publications, humanity can be guided towards its liberation and its perfection. And Srila Prabhupada said, I always remember this, he said, this movement will go down in history as having saved the world at its darkest hour. So we're just having some meetings. We've had 2 meetings, and I'm surprised the number of people coming. We published a little booklet which I showed you, with just a declaration of what we're saying. We're working on some sort of manifesto, and I must say that I was very inspired by the powerful leadership shown by Siddhapati Prabhu in New Zealand. He led a very courageous campaign of 20 days of non-stop Sankirtan against the corrupt New Zealand corporate New World Order people running their country, force vaccinating them. And I think he can take credit for driving out the witch former leader of their country, who resigned very quickly after that. I think he shook her to her bones. So this is the power of Sankirtan. Whatever we do has to be based on the principle of following the orders of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, understanding the Vaishnavachara, the philosophy of Mahaprabhu, the proper Vaishnava culture, the Vaishnava society, and all the things that Mahaprabhu established. If we follow them, and especially Sadhusanga, Nam Sankirtan, Bhagavat Shravan, Mathura Vas, and Shri Shraddha Motira Sevana, we can be very successful in life. So, and I see this thing, what we're doing here, some people criticize, oh, why are you doing politics, blah, blah, blah. Some of our own devotees are not very supportive, but it's just a platform for getting out there and explaining what Hare Krishnas think and what they believe and what their gurus have told them. And I'm very surprised with the positive response we're getting. I'm being contacted by all sorts of people, and there is a groundswell to support this initiative. And within the Australian situation, you can go that way. Whether or not, we get to make a state, that's a long way to go, but at least we'll get out there and have a platform to express our ideas and demand the two things, cow protection and Sanskrit education. And for the youth. The youth are being destroyed, so they have to be reinvigorated. Their intelligence has to be reestablished. And there's always hope. While there's life, there's hope. And Krishna is our guide. Mahaprabhu is our guide. Our Guru Varga is our guide. And Vaishnava Sangha are our supports. So we pray to the Lord that he'll guide us and support us in our endeavors, which are ultimately all for their pleasure. And the divine couple will hopefully be pleased by what we're doing. So again, I thank you all. So I had to cut out there. The signal was so bad and my phone was dying. So I just thought I'd come back, and I'll probably come at the tail end of it. I missed all the good stuff, but I pay my pranams to all of you wonderful devotees on this podcast. And I too would like to go to Mexico, but maybe in the future. I'll leave it at that. Thank you, Krishna.
Thank you, Maharaj. And are you okay to take questions or comments, reflections from the other panelists? Do you have time for that?
Yes, I'm happy to be here. Very lovely to hear from all of you. Yes, of course.
Okay, fantastic. So yeah, I'd like to.
Gaura Prabhu from Canada.
Yes, it is.
Yes, Maharaj. My Dandavat pranams to you. I'm so glad I could finally meet you, because you, as far as I could see, are the only sannyasi during the 3 years of the scamdemic that we've had to endure that actually had the courage to take a stand and speak out. I'm looking at all my godbrothers, all of the disciples of Srila Prabhupada that are the biggest major influencers in ISKCON, including the 26 PhDs that proudly align themselves with the Bhaktivedanta Institute. Not a peep in a public forum. A couple of them did mention something in a class, but you created a letter actually, and was that to the Prime Minister of Australia? And did you get any response from that?
Right, thank you. Thank you very much for your kind words of support. We did put a letter together and address it to the Governor General, who's the head of state. And again, we don't expect any response from these people, but it's a platform for us to express these ideas and put it in front of the public, and to show, to reflect upon the quality of leadership that the Western democracies are suffering from. And so I did get a lot of response. So I got over 40,000 views, and I got a lot of people contacting me. And I think that's how I met Siddhapati Prabhu, through this process. And that was a very good fortune for me. And many people were asking me to help them with their letters of, so we developed a letter from our temple, which is a registered temple, about getting an exemption, etc., etc. And it was a very good exercise, and just one of the small effort, and a very major effort. I was looking at these things, and I saw so many big doctors, big top doctors, worldwide doctors, researchers, clinicians, telling the people of the dangers, but of course their voice was so much suppressed. But anyone who had the time to look at it could easily see. And I was very disappointed with the leadership of the main organization. There was even one of their leaders came here and made a famous video telling the doctor, disciple of his, that he should come there to the farm here and tie up all the devotees, lock them up and force them to get vaccinated. Unfortunately, that wouldn't be a very good thing. That wouldn't be a very good thing to do. So yeah, I think a lot of people have been misguided by the level of peer pressure and propaganda and complete stupidity. And I'm aware of you, Gaura Prabhu. I've heard about your efforts in Canada, and it's terrific what you've been doing and trying to lead people to the right path and distill the essence of Prabhupada's teachings, for what the real meaning of Prabhupada's saying. I believe he was not in favor of vaccines. He was not in favor of demonic technology that demonic situations, society, civilization, and he stood against it very bravely. So devotees have to speak up, and that's our only shelter. That's our protection. We shouldn't be afraid to speak up. I don't think now's the time when devotees have to speak up and say, farm or die, as Prabhu says.
Gauri, you just got unmuted.
Yeah, what was the gist of your letter to the Governor General, Maharaj? The essence of it.
Acha, okay. The gist. Well, it was a little while back, but it basically just went through challenging the lockdown, the forced vaccinations, quoting that there was much medical evidence to the contrary, talking about the incursion of the human rights of the citizens, that they're out of their depth and their jurisdiction, points like that, and ultimately that they should dissolve the government. The Governor General has the power to do that because the government are actually acting against the interests of the people, which has been proven very starkly by facts, and pretty much like that, just the basics, what everyone's knowing, why they shouldn't take this bogus medical experimental procedure.
Also known as the beef jabs.
And Krishna wouldn't get vaccinated. Yeah, jab they call it.
Thank you, Maharaj, and thank you, Gora. Perfect questions, perfect answers. Bhakti Ulysses, I see your hand is up. Let me unmute your mic here. Oh, there you go. You're live, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, Dandava Pranam. So, a question I have is, does that, you mentioned you're creating like a corporation that's independent. Does that include land, or is it just a corporation itself?
Okay, can I answer? Prabhu, Dandavat Pranam. Well, actually, we're not creating a corporation. We're standing as free men and women on the land under God's creation, exercising our rights of free assembly and to live freely under God's law. We're repudiating any corporate structure which is illegitimate, which has deviated from the original constitution established very soundly in the beginning of Australia, and it's been deviated. Wicked politicians have deviated from that initial intent, which is for the benefit of the people of the country as well, when it united into a federal state. So the corporate entity is always the enemy of the people. Corporatization brings so much duplication and so much homogenization. There was a great personality known as E.F. Schumacher. He was head of the English industry in the 60s and 70s before the coal industry went down. And he wrote a famous book called Small is Beautiful. And in that book, he explains how in nature, small-scale systems are much more efficient than when things start to become globulous and homogeneous and very large scale, such as the communist Soviet model. That's one of the things that ruined the Soviet Union. It was the inefficiencies in their centralized command economy. So what we need to do is devolve. And our state is based on this idea. The conception we have is based on this region. It's a very beautiful region. It's a region that devotees have come to from all over the world. There's a very beautiful farm here where the deities are there, Radha Govardhanadari. And probably in this Tweed Valley, there's probably at least 1,000 devotee families. There's so many different groups and sanghas and kirtans going on and deities. It really will be a spiritual kingdom. When the devotees concentrate to a certain point, then the critical mass is there and the energy becomes so high that the negativity has to withdraw. And that's what's going on. I can see it very clearly. It may take some time, but it'll be a free kingdom. And we also have to take into account the rights and the wishes of the native people, indigenous people who are here that have a very strong movement, a very strong voice. And they claim ownership of the land because there was never a treaty here with the European settlers. So that's a very, very involved and deep discussion has to be held. But as far as we're concerned, we have love and affection for them, and respect for them, support them, and they have a lot of knowledge about the nature of the land and the spirituality of the land. So I'm hoping we can somehow combine our efforts for the welfare of all. We don't want the country to devolve into a situation like happened in South Africa, where they've used dismantled apartheid to make a type of apartheid, and it's gone under the terrible rule of the ANC, who are hardcore Marxist Communist Party. And as Prabhupada said, number one enemy of this movement are the communists. And the first thing they destroy is religion, then they destroy the family, then they take charge of, they destroy private property, and then they take charge of reproduction. And that's what's going on in the world. So we have to resist these demonic ideas. And they've built this sort of thinking, is even woke sort of thinking, has infiltrated a lot of the devotees, especially younger generation. They sort of have been influenced by the education system and the culture and the music, etc., to think in a way of a false equality or a false liberality, which brings only to degradation of the human condition. So no, we don't want to make reparation, but we're making a free state, and eventually, hopefully, we'll take shelter of one of the existing kings in India, either in Nepal or Puri, whose lineage is intact from the time of Supreme Lord Sri Krishna and Sri Ramchandra, and the rites and rituals are being performed, even though they're under attack from the Marxists themselves. Those royal houses are still in order, and we take shelter of Lord Jagannath and Bhagavad Gita and Supreme Lord Sri Krishna, and we will see how the thing pans out. It's interesting. If anyone would like a copy of this text, it's an interesting little text to read. It's just a statement of determination, but some people like it. You could contact us on, I could give you an email, and then you could, I'll tell that at the end, I guess, and then if anyone's interested, they could email us, and we'll try and send you an email copy to read. It's very brief. Thank you.
Why don't you tell me what that email is now,
place is called
Maharaj,
The
and I'll
God's
put
Own
it into the
Country.
comments.
Okay, email. You can email me at bvpams. bvpams at gmail.com.
Okay.
gmail.com.
Yep, I got that. And so there it is on the screen, folks. BVPAMS.
In any news situation, we understand that Sri Krishna is our... Yeah, that's bvpams at gmail.com. Anyone can stay in touch with an email. We'll keep you updated. And so far, so good.
Fantastic. Thank you, Maharaj. And thank you to the demigod of internet for making that possible. And the perfect timing. Absolute perfect timing. Any further comments on that before we move on to the final section? Dana Devi, you got something? Huh?
Hands up.
I know. No, it's fine.
I'd
Okay,
like to
thank you,
quote
Maharaj.
a sloka for you.
Please.
Can I say something? Okay, well, just the fact of this, whatever we're doing, well, Sri Krishna is in our guide, our authority, and Lord Brahma even is so exalted. Lord Brahma, in so many prayers in the Bhagavatam, is glorifying Sri Krishna, and very significantly in the 10th canto, he prays Nomijate Briya Bapushe Tadambraya Ganjavatanksa Paripichula Sanmukaya Vanya Sharjakavala Vetra Vishnavenu Lakshmi Shriya Midupare Pashu Pankajaya. So that shloka is very nice. It's explaining that Lord Brahma says to Krishna, Lord, you're fit to receive the worship of the entire universe. And because why? You are Pashu Pankajaya. You are the son of the cowherd boys, the cowherd men, and of the king of the cowherds. You are that son, and you are therefore, that proves that you were born in Braj and not in Mathura. And your transcendental body, Nomijate Brihavapushe, is like a very dark, beautiful blue cloud, and your garment is blue, like yellow like lightning, brilliant like lightning, and your face is so beautiful and enhanced by your Gunja earrings, and your peacock feather on your head. Gunja vatangsa paripichula san mukaya, and you're wearing a garland of forest flowers and leaves, and you are Vanyashrajikavla Vetra Vishnavenu. So you're holding a stick for herding the cows, a buffalo horn, a flute, and a morsel of grain mixed with yogurt. So all these are the symptoms of the cowherd king, the son of the cowherd king. He's holding all the things which identify himself as a cowherd boy only, and you are the most attractive. Your lotus is very soft, and that Lakshma Shri Amridupade, that's the mud of the forest. The dust and the mud of the forest is on his lotus feet and makes his lotus feet even more beautiful and attractive. Krishna is the Lord of the cows, and we have to invest in cow protection. This is what Prabhupada said to the devotees. We've neglected it to our great a great shame, and there's a devotee in Hawaii called Narayan Prabhu. He's doing so much on his Hawaiian farm, showing how to protect the cows. He's very inspiring. He's constantly quoting Srila Prabhupada. And so Krishna is our God, and cow protection is our means of survival. And if we promote that, then everything will be auspicious. And Sankirtan is our religion. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Maharaj. Rita Prabhu, you've got your hand waving there. I'll unmute your mic. You are unmuted. Please go ahead.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Maharaj, for such an in-depth overview. I appreciate your words of truth and honesty. They sound really first class. Australian devotees, many of them have, been around for quite some time. And Australia is a very auspicious place because Srila Prabhupada graced that land on so many different occasions. And he promoted living off the land and sharing the fruits of the land. Prabhupada, in so many talks with social workers and this and that, had a very uplifting idea about the fruits of Australia. As long as you're correct, you're absolutely correct about cow protection, because Australia is a very nasty beef-eating country. So your attitude and your philosophy is 100%. I like it. Whatever you've presented is perfectly in line with His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Thank you for sharing that. And I know that the Australian devotees suffered so much in the past. There was one devotee in Brisbane, in the Gold Coast. I've forgotten his name. He's a Prabhupada disciple. He was very close to Srila Prabhupada. And he told me how he was deprogrammed, and he became friends with Bob Hawke, who helped him promote the Rath Yatra when the local government were trying to take down the Rath Yatras and prevent the Rath Yatras from happening. So I have that interview. I haven't posted it yet, but I'll probably put it on my YouTube channel. It's a great interview I had with him. And so I know the devotees in Australia, they've had a lot of troubles with police and authorities, and but eventually the light will shine and Australia will become victorious. It will become victorious because there are devotees like yourself and Prabhupada disciples who are very focused, and the new generation of devotees in Australia and New Zealand, like Sitapati, who are very, very focused. They're the real warriors. We're on our way out, but Sitapati, yourself, and all these new generation devotees, they can really, really take Krishna consciousness to leaps and bounds. So I take my hat off to your testimony. I take my hat off to Sitapati and Dandavats to Gora and all the assembled devotees. Thank you very much for your inspiring talk. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Prabhu. And then just a reminder to everyone watching that tomorrow we have an entire episode with Rita Prabhu talking about being a revolutionary according to time, place, and circumstance, which if you've seen his Prabhupada Memories video on YouTube, you will have heard him describing Srila Prabhupada as the perfect example of that. And we're going to dive more into that tomorrow in that in-depth episode. So time for us to move on to our final part of today's segment. It's the last and maybe the least developed out of all of the projects so far. So that is our project here in Taranaki in New Zealand, Vishnu Prema Pali. It's called Vishnu's Village of Love. Do you want to grab the Vastu thing from the fridge so we can show that? And while Dana Davies doing that, I'll just give you some context here, and that's I was saying before, how Cecilia and James got their place. So how we got Vishnu Prema Pali is an example of two different things. It's like if you're living in the city and you're like, nothing's happening, no one's doing anything, that's not a showstopper, because there's two different ways you can get it. We met, Dana Devi and I, at the New Zealand Parliament protest occupation that Paramarti Maharaj referred to. It was February to March, 21 days, continuous Sankirtan, occupying the garden of the Parliament House in Wellington. And yes, we did destroy that garden. And we did continuous Sankirtan with thousands of people there who in the end kept us up at night by chanting the Maha Mantra. And we've got an in-depth episode about that on the 2nd of July with devotees who were there. And there's a feature-length film about it being released in August. And we've got one of the filmmakers coming on to talk about that as well. But we met there for the very first time, had never laid eyes on each other or even heard of each other in the kirtan there. And we were married 2 weeks later after the occupation ended. And so that's how I ended up at Vishnu Prema Pali. So you can, like Cecilia did, marry into land. And then Dana Devi didn't marry into it herself. I'll let you tell the story of how that came about, honey.
Which one?
How you ended up, you and Isabella got Vishnu Prema Pali, how that happened.
How did it happen? So it's going to be quite quick here with the time.
Yeah. Good.
At that time, obviously, I was single mom with my daughter. And what came to my heart that I will never forget, and I'll always continue doing and follow this path, is when I read The Well-Wisher of Srila Prabhupada. The moment I read about Srila Prabhupada, I said, this is the one that I'm going to follow forever. And the instructions of him were so clear. The future, what he was telling us how to prepare, it was all quite familiar to me. I said, this is what I meant to be doing. So I'm a registered nurse, and I decided, okay, I will talk to this group of young people that are working as much as I am too, so we can combine powers to buy land and then develop a farm community and provide food and be self-sufficient. I did that. They went to Devanrita Swami to talk to him, and they proposed the idea what I was bringing. And basically, according to the guy, says that, oh no, he doesn't want to do that. I said, okay. I was doing classes of, what is the Bhakti Shastra with this Indian couple in the Indian community. And I said, hey, how about we buy land together and we do this? Oh, how about you get in touch with this Prabhu? And he was in contact with the president of temple, so on, so on. So I was like, I did. I talked to the wife and said, look, this is what I'm planning to do. What do you think? Because I heard that you guys want to buy land too, and I don't mind joining powers. And the lady said, oh yeah, we're going to come back to you. This guy will discuss that with my husband. Never happened. I said, okay. I don't like to work with people that I will talk, I will discuss, and I will do. I like people say, you know what? I'm in the same pathway. Let's do it. Therefore, I say, I'm by myself. I will do it by myself. Whatever happens in the future, it will happen. I talked to one of my friends, it is in India, Panditjis, and said, hey, Panditji, this is what's happening. What do you think I should do? He says, you buy the land, you start everything, and people will come later on. I say, all right, it's done. So that's where Vishnu Prema came. I looked for 2 years. Vastu were applying the Vastu with Abhaya Mudra and her husband Patita Pavana, and says, this is the land that I'm looking at. I like it. Vastu-wise, no good. There's so many alignments that need to be done. No. So I got to this place and I said, okay, I was losing my faith. It was 2 years to look for a really nice place with the details that I want me to look for. and I came to this place, I just say, hey, how about you do this and I will do that. And if I'm successful, then let's pay it. And that's what happens. So here is the Vishnu Prema Pali
Vastu design.
Vastu. I don't think they
No, it's okay. Just hold it up there.
oh sorry.
Yeah.
So we created this where the cow area will be orphanage in this area, here, and then our houses here, more like an ashram place here, and our house here, and the vegetables and
Fruit
fruit trees, orchard will be there. So that's where we started. So that's my life so far.
Okay, so I'm going to share the screen so that I can show you some pictures of it, because a picture is worth 1,000 words, right? That's what they say. So this is just our Instagram account and what pictures we have on there. So here are Jemima and Asparagus the duck. And we got ducks and we got chickens. See, that's some graffiti that Muchakunda Prabhu did. He did graffiti on the inside of the New Zealand protest. We'll talk about that on July 2nd. Here's some of our potato harvest. Here are our cows. This is Blossom. The first cow that we got as a baby calf, just like a couple of weeks old.
Yeah.
Brought her, Dana Devi and Isabella brought her up to Vishnu Prema Pali in a sack. This is Balaram or Cacao. He's a steer. He was rescued from the neighboring farm. This is Chintamani. She also came from Brendan's farm, the neighbor of Nurturing Soul. And this is Sita, the youngest of the four. There's our chicken coop there. And then you can see this boundary along here. We're using tires that we just got the local tire places to give us their castaway tires. We live in the shadow or in the view of this mountain, which is one of the most symmetrical mountains in the world. It's called Mount Taranaki. It's like one of two of the most symmetrical mountains in the world. Some of the flowers from our garden. Here's Asparagus the duck at a younger age. He was a little baby duckling when we first got him. We have a little stream that runs through the middle of the property. This is Spartacus the chicken. Isabella got Spartacus and Asparagus together because he thinks he's a duck. You can't have only one little chick by itself. And we got them from the local kind of agricultural show. Let's see what else we got here. There's Isabella with Jemima.
She has been gifted Jemima by a gentleman in town.
Okay, that's how Jemima
take
came by.
Take the duck. Okay.
Here's the garden with some courgettes, and it has sawdust on top, and then these wooden slats to protect the ground from being dug up so much. Some shade cloth. We're using these tires. You know, you can build entire buildings out of tires. They're called earthship homes. It's no good for this region, though, because of the humidity here. It's best for like desert type regions, but we use them for building like walls. For the first year, we lived in tents. This bell tent here in the background, it goes down below zero here. Living in a tent was kind of an exciting adventure until we got sick. Living in a tent when you're sick at sub-zero temperatures sucks. Like, I remember waking up in the middle of the night just coughing uncontrollably. It was horrible. We're building a tiny home at the moment off-site that we're going to drop on there to live in. That's during the winter. So we're wintering in a couple of different places around town. That's back in Wellington, I think.
Yes, yeah. Isabella's friend. Yeah.
Yeah, we live with the cows. They live with us. Now we go over and see them every day. There's Asparagus,
when it was a baby.
The baby duck, and then that's Balaram Cacao when he was younger. And yeah, they've grown up as part of the family. All the animals are an integral part of the family.
That's Wellington, honey.
Yeah.
It's our kitten. That's the land.
Yeah, this is what the land looks like. It's just literally a big green grass paddock. It used to be a paddock for grazing cattle on. And then we have a shipping container and then a couple of kind of buildings. Yeah. And not really much else on there. So it's like super basic right now. It's like real early pioneering, sleep on the tent, sleep on the ground kind of situation. Stop the screen sharing. So what would I like people to take away from that? What would you like people to take away from that who are watching?
Don't be afraid to start from scratch. And if you are one of these persons that you have to be, guided and being given shelter, just connect with people that are on fire, are pioneers, and stick with them and do your best, collaborate, participate, cooperate with them, and you will be in the better side of your life where harmony starts flowing and growing. And don't ever disconnect from devotees. This is a place of shelter, not only for your emotional being, psychological being, physical being, or a spiritual being. You have basically everything that you need as a human being. And I want to say thank you to all the devotees that have been present. Thank you for sharing all your knowledge and your advice, what to do and what to look in, looking into the astrological side of recognizing people and working with them according to their natures, and for the spirit of all of you that have there in being loyal to Srila Prabhupada, following the instructions of Srila Prabhupada, and doing our best to help our brothers and sisters that are still asleep, or others that are refusing to hear what is actually happening, and others that is just like in denial. So thank you for your participation.
Couple of things from me about that. Again, the idea that, we didn't get the place, you can get a place overnight. That's what happened. That's my experience personally. I went to the protest. I was living in Nurturing Soul. I went to the protest, did Harinam Sankirtan for 21 days. The temple burned down to the ground. And then the next minute I'm married to someone that I met there, a woman that I met there. And I'm living in a tent on a piece of grass, establishing this rural living. So it can happen in an instant, overnight. Krishna can do anything. And then the second thing was the real transition for me was I spent the first half of my life, I'll be 50 this year, and I spent the first half of it, because I'll live to 100, as an inner city urban preacher. I was born in the inner suburbs of Auckland, the largest city in this country, and then just went up from there until I was in an inner city preaching center downtown in Lima, Peru, with 12 million people there. And then, Brisbane, Australia, running inner city urban preaching centers. And then from one day to the next, I'm suddenly sleeping in a tent, looking after cows with cows and chickens and cats and everything. And that was the most shocking thing for me. But yeah.
I need to add something about this, honey.
Mm-hmm.
If you trust in Krishna, if you are very clear where you want to get in your life, what is your goal, your desires, just make it clear, because Krishna will actually arrange. Because this is an arrangement where astrologically has been recommended for my husband. It is incredible how Krishna works. It's unbelievable. It's been recommended to my husband, you must stay in the land now on. And you stay, and your wife, and do this and do that. It's recommendations there. And then I look myself and I look my husband and said, honey, out of the blue, we met, you and the parliament, and me getting there too, and we met, and you are into this, your nature of distributing Srila Prabhupada's message and Krishna consciousness to the world. I'm aligned with that. I'm quite happy that you are doing that. And, I want to do that too. We match in that area. And now Krishna said, you know what? This is the perfect place for him to come and be engaged with a person, or married to a person that has a land and everything, is prepare everything. Krishna does everything in the perfect time. Don't you ever doubt that. Don't you ever think, people will not come. You tell Krishna, this is what I need. Please make it happen. Man proposes, Krishna disposes. So you must believe, you must trust in Krishna. If you don't, you block in all the way that Krishna wants to reciprocate with you. So that is my my little rant and advice.
Yeah. Effectively, what we're doing is impossible, and it makes no sense. And We serve a master who is invisible and who materially does not exist. He is Lord Vishnu. He is all pervading. He is everywhere, and he is within the hearts of all the living entities, and he has his own personal identity and existence separate from that. It's inconceivable, and materially it doesn't exist. And so we can do the impossible by his grace. So yeah, I'd like to take any reflections, comments, or questions about that before we move to final comments and closing acknowledgements. Bhakti Ulysses, I see your hand is up. Let me, if you got it.
Hare Krishna. So one of the things that I had a lot of trouble when we were starting here was precisely with the amount of work that's required to run the farm. So I'm pretty sure you're getting into that. So my big break was again the Varnashram. So as soon as I realized that, I don't have to do all the work, I can hire a Sudra, and he can do the work, and I can do something else to make money to pay him. That was a game changer. So I think it's a very, very common mistake that in farms, that you're starting and you want to do everything and you want to take care of the cows and this and that, and you burn out very quickly. So I don't know if you're past that phase, but if you're still in that phase, again, Varnashram, hire Sudra. It might not make much sense in the beginning that, I have to pay someone and all this stuff. But ultimately, it all works out because you have time to do these important things that matter to push your project forward, rather than being stuck in doing routine tasks that take a lot of time. I don't know if that makes sense.
Confirmed by the cry of the peacock. I was just thinking, it's like you're a walking incarnation of the E-Myth by Michael Gerber. He talks about it's a book where he talks about leveraging yourself out of your job rather than just creating another job for yourself.
Yes.
That's the difference between the self-employed and the business owner, is that they use systems and they're like, I need good systems and great people.
Yes, like that. It's a very, very easy path to burnout. So you want to avoid that, especially as a Kshatriya. You want to be doing the thinking, the organizing, rather than the menial. I mean, it's fine. We can do everything, right? We're Vaishnava. That's the whole point. We're trying to be Vaishnava. But practically speaking, you don't want to stay there. You don't want to, you want to find someone who has Sudra nature and then engage, delegate, and work as a team. I think that's when your Kshatriya nature shines. For me, as a Vaishya, there's no way I couldn't work without Sudras. It would be. I'm spoiled now. I got the taste of getting help and doing other things that pay for the Sudra, and it's just so much better than if I have to do everything and then I have to make money. It's just very difficult, very difficult. So I encourage you in that direction. And the other thing is, you mentioned about the Vastu, but it's a little bit unclear to me because the book that I shared on my website, I showed the picture. It requires the grid, the 9x9 grid, a compound wall, and I didn't see any of that format. So I don't know what kind of Vastu is that, or is it based on scripture, or any idea of the source?
I guess I can put you in contact with, or you can actually be in contact with Abhaya Mudra and Patita Pavana. Abhaya Mudra is the one who did the Vastu for me. It is more about buying the land and where the positions of the north, south, and west, everything. And then what I wanted to develop in the land, it was being explained to her, and then she assigned it according to what it meant to be. So maybe you discuss with her, and you will find a better understanding. Because myself, I'm a naive in Vastu. I have a tiny knowledge compared to people who has been studying and reading. And
that's one of the ones where we outsourced it to someone.
I see.
Outsourced it to the expert.
Yeah, I'm a little bit concerned I don't know where they took their information from, but I got a Sanskrit book. I'm sharing it on that link that you're posting, and it's like the real deal summary from the Sanskrit language, and it very specifically mentions that you need a compound wall because you need to delineate your living space and where the doors go, and there's several rules that are crucial, which I'm not seeing there. So
for the house, we have a different. For the house, the house Vastu is completely different. It's another Vastu they prepare it, but this is more for the land, where the house will go. But the house itself, it has different one. Yeah. It's more about the land, where things will go, and the land is going to give a lot of wealth, for certain. There is a lot of wealth in the land, as per the Vastu and how it's been aligned.
I see. All right.
Yeah.
Thank you, Prabhu, and thank you for your advice on the Varnas. And I would just like to give a shout out to Dasarath Sutta Prabhu, who spoke earlier. I have been experiencing exactly what you're pointing to. I find myself out there in the garden, digging a hole or something, and thinking, is this the best use of my time? Like, you could have someone who can only dig the hole, but I'm actually capable of doing a lot more than that. I mean, as you can obviously see, even just from hosting and organizing these conversations, this is more in line with my capabilities. And I do struggle with being able to do things that are outside that zone. I have a zone of power, and then I have a zone where I have a complete loss of power. And one of the glorious things about the direct disciples of Srila Prabhupada and how they created this mission is how they did have an incredible range of power across an incredible range of activities, which is what Dasarath Sutta Prabhu was pointing to. And that's actually an advanced stage beyond you transcend as you said, the mind. The body is one thing. Transcending the mind is a whole other category altogether. And by the mercy of their spiritual master and by the power of their surrender to their spiritual master, they were empowered to do that. And that is incredible.
I laugh at my husband's like, for me, it's like, you know what? We can do it. You just need to use your intelligence, your imagination, and you can do it. For me, it's like that. I'm not trained as a builder, but I did some building. I'm not trained to be a Rakshasa, but I can dig a hole because I'm looking at what is needed right now. I mean, Shudra. Vision and business. Okay, what can we do to create money? What is required for that? So I'm thinking about it, and I don't know. I don't think I'm advanced. It's just my nature.
The problem is the burnout, because I've done that. And the first 3 or 4 years, I was doing construction, literally mixing cement and rocks and building the house literally with workers and everything. And I was working hard, and I was just like, okay, I can do it. It comes a point where it burns out. It's just unsustainable. You can do it for 1 year, 2 years, but it comes a point, especially as you get older, it just doesn't make sense. So you have to switch. That's the whole benefit of Varnashram. That's the whole point of Varnashram, that you have persons who are dedicated to a certain task. So I can clearly see Sitapati Prabhu having that Kshatriya qualities or Brahminical qualities. And so what's the point? It's fine. You can dig a hole every once in a while, but it's a bad use of the time. So the proper way is actually by social order, by finding Sudra. I've done it myself, and I've experienced both, and I can tell you it's night and day. The advantage that I have here in Mexico is that labor is cheap, so I can pay $7 a day.
Prabhu, it is favorable for you, and New Zealand is not. It's quite expensive.
In New Zealand, to get someone to do some household chore, you're paying for a Brahmana to do it.
For a Brahmana. Yes,
he's university educated or something, right?
That's where the creativity comes, the Kshatriya. Again, the power of the Kshatriya's leadership. So therefore, okay, find someone young who needs to learn to work, or some sort of a scholarship or whatever, to get young people to join and do menial tasks. And so rather than
an entire episode on this.
Yes, rather than doing menial tasks yourself, then you get a bunch of people and you organize them. then you feel good because you're doing people things, and then they do the menial work. So it's a little bit getting into the varna, getting into the varna.
Yeah.
This is a very common flaw in the varnashram system, because we're not used to this social order that I can do everything. Why should I? If I can do the whole, I'll do the whole. Yes, but that's the purpose, the power of varnashram. So there's some line to explore there. Once you are in
Yes.
that, it's night and day. Like, things run
Well,
smoothly.
let's do a whole episode on that, Prabhu. I'm just conscious of the time. We've hit 3 hours now.
Yes.
So let's wrap it up. Let's take final closing words and reflections from those who remain, and then we'll close it out. So your mic is open, Bhakti Ulysses Prabhu. Why don't you continue? Let's just go around on what I see here. So it'll be Bhakti Ulysses, Mother Revati, Gora Prabhu, Maharaj, Ashraya Tatva, and then we'll end with us.
Okay. Just to bring the topic to the higher standard, we're wanting to implement Varnashram, change the world. So for that, we need a Kshatriya leader. And so you have Kshatriya qualities. I encourage you to definitely develop that, because there's a lot of potential, and that the whole Varnashram can start with Kshatriya. So rather, again, than doing the menial task, get out of that, find a way to get out of that, and then focus on Kshatriya role. And then that's where you can shine. That's where you shine. It's not that you can't, that's where you shine. So just find creative ways to get there.
Thank you, Prabhu. Mother Revati.
Well, the one thing I wanted to say is that, like you keep saying, when we should have done this 50 years ago, we need to do it now. That we just need to get started. I agree that we have to, if as much as possible, try to engage people according to their varna. But I think that'll also work its way out as we are going forward. You'll find that this person's a really good manager. Why have we got him shoveling out the barn? That's one thing I never saw when I was living in the temples. They never engaged people according to their propensities. They just sent everybody out on the pick or whatever. I brought it up to several temple presidents over the years. But anyway, we need to get started. It's an emergency now. We are literally way behind schedule. That's it.
Thank you, Mother Revati. Hare Krishna. Now, Gora looks like he's deep in a conversation with someone else right now. So let's skip over him for now. Maharaj, if you're still able to hear us and still with us. Looks like Maharaj may be frozen. No, I see a movement.
Yes, zipping off. It's been going on. Yeah. Okay. Well, thanks very much for your presentation, and all the devotees. I'm very happy to meet you. I pray my humble obeisances to all of you, especially Mother Revati. And about this trying to create the impossible out of the impossible. Krishna is our guide. Said Nagatana, he can make the impossible possible. And Srila Prabhupada said that there are devotees waiting on every street corner. So we just have to go and perform Sankirtan and expect us to be inspired. And I'm next, the people who are looking for transformation or aware of the urgency of the time will gradually and immediately forward is that we can afford to be optimistic, to really put our nose to the grindstone. Time is of the essence. But we can be always assured of the protect Supreme Lord Sri Krishna and under the guidance of Sri Rupa and Raghunath Das Goswami and our Rupa Guru Parampara, we stay faithful to those principles. We can be optimistic as well. So all glory to all of your lotus feet. Thank you, Ashraya Tatva Prabhu. He's been helping so much on the farm. He's doing a great job and learning to garden and cow protecting and all those things. So I'm sure we'll have a fun day and big 24-hour kirtan. And Sitapati will come, Didi, and we'll be very happy to serve the lotus feet. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Maharaj. Hare Krishna. Ashraya Tatva Prabhu, over to you.
Hare Krishna. All I found myself doing was just trying to chant, whether it's kirtan, japa, studying shastra, just do it sincerely, and then all these things happened. So it's a great power to focus desire, even if we're not sure what it is that we want or what it is that we need or where it is that we need to be. And chanting Hare Krishna is the key to it all. And then the impossible, as you've all been saying, becomes completely possible. And change can happen instantly, as you've also been saying. The circumstances that we cannot possibly imagine how things are going to happen, but Krishna can make all things happen. It's just about that connection, making a powerful and sustained connection with the Lord, chanting the holy names. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you. Gora Prabhu, are you still with us, or he's deep in? He's dealing with something there. Okay, Gora Prabhu is like a communications nexus of the underground. He's the transcendental connector and recruiter. Okay, Dana Devi, to you.
I thought I already said.
It's okay. Do you have any further reflections or closing comments?
Yeah, as Mother Revati mentioned, we are in an emergency. So I've been working in the acute area in the main hospital here in Wellington, which is cardiology and cardiothoracic. If anything happens, act, 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 act. There, we don't wait. Oh, I don't know what to do this. There is a common sense. There is so many things team there that are coming together to do something. So that is exactly what I'm going to apply here when it comes to an emergency situation where we are left. We don't have like a farming communities. There is no housing where devotees can come and stay. What to speak of mothers and children to be protected. We don't have that one. So what does it mean to form from the scratch? Whether you are Satriya, you are Vaishya or Rakshasa, of course you have your nature, or Shudra, or Shudra. The point is, right now, work in what is needed. Later on, when everything is at least a little bit settled, then you can go into your own world of being a Satriya, or you being a Sudra, or whatever you want to be engaged. But in an emergency, we have to do what is the needful right now and right away. And I'm going to say thank you to everyone for coming. And there is so many more topics that have developed from this, and so many people that I want them to be participated in the next topics.
Okay, thank you, Dana Devi. So Gora is back. It's closing comments and reflections time, Gora Prabhu. And we skipped over you as we went round because you were obviously deep in conversation with someone then. But thank you for coming back. Can we have your final closing thoughts and comments, please? Let me unmute your mic.
Yeah, Jivan Mukta Prabhu inspired a question for me to ask Bhakta Ulysses Prabhu. As we know, Krishna says, Chaturvarnyang maya shishtam guna karma vipagasa tasya kartaram apimang vidya kartaram avyayam. He says, on the basis of guna, one's qualities and one's actions, karma, then one can understand the nature of an individual. And so Jivan Mukta Prabhu was asking of me, was saying, what? Based on your astrology, you can understand. Somebody said, at least you would ask a professional astrologer and not just a calculating machine. So I was wondering if Ulysses Prabhu has some comments to make. You have to unmute.
Just briefly to finish. It is a long discussion. I can provide the quotes, but like I said, it's from Brihad Parashara Hora Shastra, so it's bona fide. It's the scripture, Sanskrit, and like that. So it's not like I speculated it. It's just many astrologers are very complicated. Most astrologers don't like the idea that it's such a simple thing. But actually, there's 4 varnas. You don't have 64 varnas. It's 4. So you only have one of those 4. That's it. That's it. So we want to make things complicated, but it's not. It's not that complicated. So it's a starting point. Then it says Brahmana or whatever it says. You try those activities, focus on that. Like Sitapati, if he acts as Kshatriya only, I think he's completely happy. So that's the confirmation, the calculator, and then the practical thing, and then it makes sense. All right, then good. It's not that. Yeah.
I'm just wondering then where does it come in where Krishna emphasizes based on your qualities and based on your actions?
So imagine a bull that you have untrained. A bull can plow a field very nicely, but if he's untrained, he's not very useful. He is only used for passing stool and urine. So it's by training that the bull becomes useful. So in the same way, somebody could be born Brahmana. The astrology could say Brahmana. But if he has no training, no education, he's like that bull. It's like untrained. So although the Brahmana nature is there, the behavior is like a Sudra because there's no training. So it's a drunkard.
And no matter how much you train that bull, he's not going to become a duck.
Correct. Yes.
We're going to do an entire episode on this subject because people obviously love it, right?
I love
Come
astrology.
on. Astrology, horoscopes. Oh, man. Personality tests. People love that stuff. Tune in for that episode. Come online and put your birth date into the comments and we'll tell you your future and your past. Your past life, your future life, the whole thing. Sorry.
Yes.
I'm
so
overhyping it now.
It's by training. If you're Brahmana, born Brahmana nature, and then you get training, that's real Brahmana. So we're not trained because we're not used to this Varnashram. So I can say I'm Vaishya, but it's trying to be Vaishya, getting there. We're trying to get there. That's the whole point. But the nature is there. What Sitapati mentioned earlier, that you just put a Kshatriya in an environment where he has to organize people and he'll figure it out. It's a little bit of natural, spontaneous talent, comes in the blood.
Paramati Maharaj had his hand up there. Let's just take one comment and then we don't want to blow the whole episode's contents at the end of this episode. So we'll move to conclusion. But Paramati Maharaj, please.
I just want to say that I think the internet, I think being run by a duck.
The internet is being run by a duck?
That's it.
Okay. The internet is being run by a duck.
It's a pretty scrappy today.
Yeah, it is. Well, thank you for making it work to join us, Maharaj. And
very poor signal. Very poor signal.
Yes.
What was Dr. Ulysses suggesting for that?
Starlink.
Hopefully
Yeah,
next time
Dr.
the
Ulysses
signal's
was
better.
suggesting Starlink. Yeah, we'll work on that. We'll get that to happen. Preaching is the essence. Now, Gora looks like he's disappeared into another conversation. He might be relaying what was said here, but I don't know if we're going to get him back in time for the closing comments. So, let me make my closing comments here. Everything that has been said is perfect and contributes to the Siddhanta, which is that the eternal truths are the Jiva and the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And they are eternally related and distinct. And I acknowledge everyone who has come onto this podcast today and the panelists. Bhakti Ulysses, Mother Revati, Gora Prabhu, Srila Bevi Paramarti Swami Maharaj, Ashraya Tatva Prabhu, Dhanadevi, Rida Prabhu, Dasarath Sutta Prabhu, those who have dropped off, who were on previously, James and Cecilia at Nurturing Soul, and yes, myself also for being here. It's a great privilege. It is as Ashraya Tattva Prabhu was saying, you just do the thing and then the result kind of appears, and how they're connected is not immediately apparent. Just like watering the root of the tree, somehow it grows and then the leaves come out and then the fruits come out. And it's like, how did watering the root of the tree do that? But by hearing and chanting the name, fame, glories, pastimes of the Supreme Personality of Godhead and his servitors, then automatically everything that there is to be accomplished on this planet will be accomplished. And what that will look like will be amazing, miraculous, impossible things. And we may not have manifested them 50 years ago. We may have manifested them in various stages as we've gone along. But Krishna has put us where we are and put us together. And he is causing it to happen through us. And I acknowledge everyone who tuned in and contributed. Anutama Devi Dasi, Mataji 108, thank you for your comments. For everyone else who's watching and who made it this far, thank you for your attention and your time. There's many ways you could have spent it. You could have been focusing on the German villain, super villain in his Darth Vader costume, but you chose to spend it listening to this talk. And that contributes to the transformation, the Great Awakening within the Great Awakening. Thank you to everyone who tuned in. Sonia also, who left a comment in there. And tag a friend or 10 in the comments section so that they can find out about this episode, spread the good news of the Sankirtan movement on earth. Param Vijayate, Sri Krishna Sankirtanam, total world victory of Hare Krishna. Dasosmi, my Dandavats, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Thank you. Haribol.
Haribol.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.